We're going to go right into our public hearing agenda. Today is Wednesday, March 15th. We're getting started at 6:04 p.m. And we're going to start with the first agenda item on our, which is the Parks Department Portland Lou proposal for bathroom placement inside of Irving Square Park. And I also want to just point out, we do have a special guest this evening, class 5504 from PS 376. Some of those students will be presenting next, but now we'll hear from Parks and we'll get started with our meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, thank you, everyone. My name is Jim Morris. I'm Director of Capital Projects for Brooklyn Operations in the Parks Department here in New York. Celeste, in the meantime, I apologize. Would you be able to upgrade Julie Fisher, who's she's in the two presenter. She's actually going to be presenting the presentation today. She should be in the webinar.
Sounds good. Yes, we're adding her now.
Great, fantastic. In the meantime, while Julie kind of gets in and everything like that, so as Celeste was saying, we showed this presentation to the CB4 Parks Committee meeting last month. Basically, this is a new type of bathroom that the Parks Department is testing throughout the 5 boroughs. This is the first one that's going to be in Brooklyn, hypothetically, as long as the community board likes it. This would be in Irving Square Park. It's a new type of thing that obviously it's from Portland, Oregon, and we're going to be testing it out in the park. And I'll let Julie allude a bit more on that. I just want to make sure she's on the line so we can share screen.
I am here. I am just getting ready to share my screen.
Hi, Julie. We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Oh, really?
We can hear. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, great.
There we go. Sorry, that was my fault.
Okay, and can you see my screen?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Julie Fisher. I'm an architect working for the Parks Department at Capital Projects, and I'm excited to talk to you tonight about the Portland Lou, which is a part of a citywide pilot. We're putting one loo in each borough, and we have selected Irving Square Park as the location in Brooklyn. So just to introduce you to the Portland Lou, this is something new that we're trying, but it's something that cities across the country have already installed in many locations. And it is a prefabricated unit. So it's fabricated in a factory and then brought to site and connected to city sewer, city electric, city water. And it's a simple structure. It's one toilet facility, fully accessible. And again, this is part of our goal for providing restroom facilities in exploring a new option to add to the restroom facilities throughout parks and the city. So a little bit more about the unit. As I said, it's an accessible single occupancy unit with a flushing toilet. The door can be locked, and it works in what's called a dormitory lock, in which case, while a person is in the loo, you can lock it so that you have privacy, but you can't lock the door closed from the outside unless you have a key, which is one of the ways that parks will use to close it at night, and also access the loo if it's necessary, if someone is in distress or staying longer than one should. The loo has a hand washing station outside of the loo. And again, this is something that speeds use of the loo and also discourages people from staying longer than they need to do their business. And again, this is connected to all the city sewer, water, and electric. And the water is heat traced so that it can be used year round. The structure is not heated, only the water is heated so that it does not freeze. But the unit itself, and you can see in the photo in the bottom, has louvers, which provide privacy, but also airflow. And also, although you have enough privacy while you're in there, you can see someone's feet. So you know if someone is in there or if more than one person is in there. So it's easy to monitor what's going on in the loo without detracting from a person's privacy. There's also a blue light in the loo when it's open in the evening hours, which provides enough light again for
The sound is cut out. Not sure if it's a
Yeah, we
technical
might,
issue.
sorry about that. We might have let Miss Julie for the moment.
be
In the mean-
very
There we go.
securely closed up at night. In general, we are siting these loos close to utilities to keep the connection run short, and putting them in visible locations so that the community and authorities can keep an eye on the loo, keeping them close to lights and allowing for clear sight lines. Here you can see a plan of the loo. It's not very big. It's about 5.5 feet by about 9 feet. And in addition, inside the loo, there's a toilet with grab bars. There's also a baby changing table. And here you can see views from the outside. And again, you can see those louvers that provide airflow and enough privacy, but still eyes on what's going on. Because these units are quite small, we, in addition to the unit, we also have some exterior utility cabinets to connect to the electric and water. And these will be screened to reduce their impact on the park. And you can see that again, that there's some utilities outside of the loo. And again, we are proposing to put this loo in Irving Square Park, along the Weirfield side of the park. And here you can see a view where the loo would go. We're seeing the side of the loo. You can see the hand wash station on the right-hand side. I mean, you can see that it's quite close to the street beyond, quite close to a light pole. So it should provide a good secure location. One of the other features of the loo is that it is a very durable stainless steel structure, which has been at a polyurethane epoxy coating is added to the loo, which is very graffiti resistant. And I'll close on this image. Thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
A quick one, I want to just bounce off before we go to questions. So I just wanted to, don't want to take too much time, but I wanted to also pay attention to some of the feedback we got from the Parks Committee meeting last month about some of the concerns, very genuine, very, concerns about keeping this safe, keeping people that overnight bad activities, happen sometimes in parks, how we would do that for this, this new bathroom. We are getting, this is kind of a off the truck thing that we would install. However, we have in operations, we have a full unit of blacksmiths, electricians, stuff that we can modify this this Portland loo to make it kind of New York ready. A lot of this stuff is built in another place, but once it gets to New York, we want people to know that this is something that once it's built, we will modify it. We will change little things about it to make it specifically like the lock. Julia alluded to the dormitory lock. We can beef that up and make it really lockable as well. M&O, our maintenance and operations divisions, we go through, we clean the bathrooms, and it will be on the list to lock overnight to make sure that people know that this will stay safe, stay clean, stay usable throughout the year. Again, this is our attempt to get around what is an extremely expensive process for a new comfort station. It's like $4 million. It's hard. That's a brutal reality construction in New York, is that a full-fledged comfort station like you see in Maria Hernandez Park or something like that is extremely expensive. And this is our attempt to get around that. And we hope to utilize that kind of hybrid of this is a off the rack kind of thing, but also we're able to modify it a little bit. And but yeah, I just want to leave it there, leave it basic and everything like that, but we're definitely open for questions.
Any questions from the board? Mike.
Yeah, I have a question. Select.
Yeah,
Felix-
Felix, one moment. Ms. Jackson, the committee chairperson, has a question, and then you're next.
Okay, my
Thank you.
question is, how secure is the lock? Is this something that I could just break in? You know, how secure is that lock?
It's a very robust lock. And again, we've spoken, I've seen the installation in Cambridge, and I spoke to the engineers in Cambridge who have a lot of people who've had the same concerns, and the lock has held up well. It's an industrial grade lock. It does have to meet ADA requirements. So, and it does need to lock so that a person feels comfortable using it on the inside. So when the loo is open, that lock is what will be used. The additional lock that Jim referred to is something that would be used when the unit is closed for the night.
Okay, so my next question is, how long is it going to be open?
I think you, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I think you asked how long, what the hours would be.
How long does it stay open?
I think we were anticipating, and Jim, I can defer to you.
Yeah, no, it would be on the route of any other comfort station. So the way that Parks Department works throughout the boroughs, we have staff that goes through in the morning to open it up, like say at Maria Hernandez or another park that has a typical comfort station, and then they go on the route at the end of the day. Typically it's early in the morning, later at night. We have specific times we can get a little bit more information for you, but it would be in the same. It's effectively treated as as a comfort station, like any other comfort station, in terms of opening it and closing it.
Playground and all those playgrounds. When the workers go home, the park is closed. I mean, the bathrooms are locked with those heavy duty locks. I'm asking about this one because it's going in Irving Square and it's just an open park. And I don't think it should stay open late. I think
It won't.
6 o'clock is late enough.
Yeah, we have a shift of people that go around that time. Anyways, I can get you specific times. I don't know off the top of my head when specifically the comfort stations are closed, but it certainly won't be a late night. And that's where our more robust lock would come in. So people, the design of this is part of it is, it's open air, but it also is to see if people are in there. So it's much safer that way. So yeah, so it's a typical open and close.
Thank you.
Felix?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Felix Ceballos. I want to know about the red room. The red room is going to be open, or is some kind of security?
So
Your question.
the loo, if you approach the loo, if it's not occupied, the door will be unlocked so that you can open it. Once you're inside the loo, you can lock it for the time that you're in there. And it is, you do feel like you have privacy. The louvers have been designed so that people can't see you, although they can't see your feet. And that is for safety reasons, so that you can tell if anything undesirable is going on in the loo. But while you're in the loo, you do have security because the door is locked, and you have enough privacy. I have been in them. I wouldn't say I would feel particularly interested in spending a lot of extra time in there. It's really, you go in, you do what you need to do, and you move on.
Good, good. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing, from the board, because I'm going to go to the public next. Go ahead, Cassandra.
I was wondering, is this like a sort of, this is like in the pilot stage right now, right? Because there's gonna be like one in each borough. So like, how long is the testing period going to be before you decide like, this is like doing really well. Let's get some more Portland Loos in here. Or like, maybe they're not being used so much, so like we're not gonna expand this program. Like, yeah, Sarah, Senator in the chat is kind of like asking a similar question. Like, how is success measured in this program?
So I think that's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people have asked. And I think really this is, in some ways, you can see there's a meter that will tell you how many times the loo is flushed. So we will be able to get data on how much it is being used. And beyond that, I think feedback from the community, feedback from the district staff will also really tell us how it's working out.
And to what Julie said, I just want to mention too, you know, one of the biggest feedback we get from the community and kind of shock how expensive a normal comfort station is. It's extremely expensive. And this is kind of our effort to, you know, we want this to work because this could be a great way to offer parks bathrooms at much lower, you know, much more cheaper than a typical comfort station, which, you know, we all know how expensive those are. So if this works, it'd be great.
They're also great for parks that are a little tight on space. Irving Squares is not a tiny park, but there are a lot of parks that have, you know, very tight footprints. And so this allows the much needed amenity to fit into the park.
Any other board members?
Barbara.
If not, then go ahead, Barbara.
Hi, is this going to be used 7 days a week? And who's going to be responsible for cleaning it?
Yeah, I could answer that. Thank you for asking that. It's a great question. You know, that these kind of basic on the ground stuff. So it will be open every day. You know, throughout the year, especially as Julie was alluding to, it has like heat tracing so that the water, you know, we don't have to winterize it, which we sometimes have to do for certain buildings. However, it will be on the same route as you know, it's in our maintenance and operations division, the same route that other comfort stations get. They go, people go around, open them, clean them, close them, all that stuff. It's in the same route. It's the same situation. So the Parks Department will be cleaning them.
Celeste Joanna Fuentes has her hand raised, and then I have my.
Go ahead. Perfect. Thank you. Joanna?
Okay, I'm just unmuted. Guys, I'm just gonna put my question on the chat because it's pretty lengthy. I have a lot of concerns, but I guess I'll just put in the chat. Thanks.
Go ahead, Joanna.
Okay. My question to the presenters, this is Joanna Bennett. How safe would you feel with your elementary school child using this facility unescorted? Meaning, is this something that, you know, for instance, can a child get locked in? I know the locks are secure. We've probably seen in our own homes where a kid can get locked in the bathroom and they can't get out. Two, you know, and just in terms of that security, how should those children be escorted by an adult? And in terms of the safety, I was looking, are there any cameras that could monitor this? I see that tree near there. I don't think there's any cameras in Irving Square Park. So if someone's in distress, how would one know? 3, you got people who might decide, oh, I'm gonna flush a diaper down there or feminine hygiene product. Is the plumbing can accommodate heavy materials like that? So I asked a lot of questions, but one, is it good for children unescorted? 2, you get the possibly overflowing toilets because people put things in there that shouldn't be in there. And then it was about the cameras.
I can speak to the lock, and also I think in terms of children unescorted, I think it's very similar to a typical comfort station, which are also buildings that don't necessarily have park staff stationed there. But in terms of the lock, it's a lock where you manually lock it when you get in the bathroom. When you open the door, it unlocks itself. So there's really nothing to stop you from unlocking it. As long as you can turn the lever, you should have no problem getting out of the loo. And again, it unlocks itself so that someone can't inadvertently or maliciously lock the loo closed, other than park staff. In terms of the plumbing, yes, the things that got flushed down some of our toilets are a challenge for us. But we anticipate that the toilet itself is stainless steel, so it is very durable. And we have clean out so that if there are things that are happen with the toilet, that they can be maintained. I'm sorry, there are a number of questions, and
I can speak a
may
little bit
not
on
have
the
addressed them all.
camera concern as well. The Parks Department doesn't have the infrastructure for cameras. They are, you can see them, but what they're doing behind the scenes is quite a lengthy infrastructure. That would a lot of times NYPD has cameras that are on. You can see them sometimes outside of parks, and we work in conjunction with NYPD to get that. But Parks Department doesn't have the cameras throughout the parks that are overseen by the Parks Department. It's the local precinct would have to install a camera.
All right. Thank you all. Any other questions from board members? Is Joanna's question answered in the chat? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to members. Oh, do you have something, Mr. Kumar?
Yeah. I just want to let the board members know that there is no bathroom there. So we want to make sure that there is one and it's safe. I understand everyone's concerned, but there was no bathroom there, and people were doing in the bushes and behind everywhere else because we've seen them, and we want to make sure that part gets a bathroom for the kids and the people in that bathroom that we really need. I just want to know how much tax dollars would that cost us compared to having a comfort station that we spend a lot of money in Knoll Park. What is the difference between that one and the huge one that I know that the one on Knoll Street even got heated floors. So I know what we need heated floor for in a baseball, but that's besides the point.
So these loos are a lot less expensive. The unit itself is, and there have been recent articles in the press that you may have seen, but they're in the $200,000 range. A lot of the cost is our utilities, which are something that is something that we need in for a comfort station or for a Portland loo. But because the unit itself is not very expensive, these are 3 to 4 times less expensive than a full comfort station.
All right. I believe that's all of the board members with questions. We will open it up to the public now.
Just a question,
Oh.
I'm sorry. Is the Parks
Go ahead, Joanna.
Department buying these facilities or renting them from the company?
We are, they're not being rented. They are being purchased, and these will be bid out as construction contracts, like many of our contracts. So ultimately the price of the unit will be negotiated through a competitive bid process. we're not purchasing them directly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Members of the public, please raise your hand. I know we have a few folks on.
Hi. So I have a few questions in the chat already. This is Sarah Senator. I'm just going to go through them one by one. I'm wondering if the 83rd precinct has been consulted about building a structure in the park, and how do they see this impacting safety in the park?
Jim, do you know anything about that process? It's not a process.
Yeah,
I'm
we don't. I mean, I just want to
particularly
zero in on
familiar
the
with.
question. So if in terms of sightlines and stuff like that for the precinct, because we have our own enforcement patrol that for the Parks Department, and we don't typically consult the precincts about capital projects that happen inside the park. But is it more of a concern that they won't be able to see behind the building, like during night or anything like that?
Yes, I mean, this is a park that has a history of, some shootings and drug problems, and things like that. So, it's definitely, I think, a good question to ask. Like,
yeah, understood. I totally understand that. Yeah, we have our own enforcement patrol, but they haven't been consulted yet. But we can certainly tell the precinct that this is happening and that there's a bathroom being built here. But it's not part of the protocol for capital projects like that to consult a local precinct.
okay, my next question then, how does having this loo in Irving Square Park change the classification of the park? Like, does it open it up to more funding or resources to have a bathroom in this park? And if so, what would that be?
Yeah, I could answer that as well. I mean, it doesn't really change the classification. It's just another asset in the park that will be installed. On a more literal sense, any more attention that a park gets is always good. More attention that a park gets means more people are going to be looking at it. If more people are looking at it, there's more interest. If there's more interest, then typically the community, and namely the people that funded the Parks Department, doesn't have a capital budget, but the council member do, the mayor does. These people have the ability and the logistical ability to fund things like a new playground or just any capital project in the park. So in that way, yes, it will get more attention in that way because there's more activity in the park. But in terms of in the eyes of the Parks Department, this is just something we're adding in the park to make it, make the community. We've gotten a lot of feedback that this park needs a bathroom, that Community Board 4 needs more bathrooms, and we kind of localize this as kind of the perfect park for this. But yeah, that it doesn't have any specific change in the park, but in terms of like a butterfly effect or ripple effect or whatever, it will be a positive effect for the park, we believe.
Okay. What kind of money has the Parks Department already received from our city council office for Irving Square Park, and how was that used?
We received funding from Councilwoman Nurse for a playground associate for this, which we're very happy to receive, for a playground associate, which is typically like the program is that we have a staff that works in a playground that, during the morning, they open up the playground, so to speak, open up the playground, clean up a little bit, do things like that. And then during the afternoon and during the good weather seasons, they have programming for kids. They have things like tic-tac-toe and things like that. So we receive money from her for this season. However, in terms of general infrastructure changes, we haven't received funding from the council. This is a different program than council funded this Portland Loo.
Right. So when is that playground associate to begin in the park? When is that starting?
I will look into it. It's not my division, but I will certainly look into it. I can get back to the community board.
Okay. I also just wanted to ask, how does Parks Department plan to enforce leash laws in Irving Square Park going forward? I feel like we have a big problem with definitely overuse with dogs and dog poop in the park. What's your plan to handle the leash laws moving forward?
Sorry, could you, I just wanted to make sure we're on the right topic here to talk about. So you're curious about leash laws in New York? I mean, in Irving Square Park?
In Irving Square Park, yes, because it's a problem that I feel like is probably the most important problem to address in the park. And I worry that, if this loo is put in the park and it's not properly maintained, it's adding more problems to a park that already has some problems. So I'd like to see the problems that are already there, being enforced, the leash rules being enforced before we add more things to maintain the park.
I gotta agree that that's a great question.
And just as a note for folks and a point of clarification, and I will let the Parks Department respond to that, but just want to point out that any enforcement, it's either Parks Enforcement Patrol. You have to call that number when you observe the dogs, when you see the dogs. Also keeping in mind that Parks Enforcement Patrol is limited. They only have a certain amount of enforcement officers. I feel like citywide, maybe 50, maybe borough-wide is less. They would be able to better respond. But if folks aren't reporting this, then it's going to be difficult for there to be enforcement in the park to help resolve some of those issues. But I'll let Parks Department respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, what Celeste is saying is correct. We understand that this asset is going to get more attention to the park, but it is an enforcement thing. So, it is something that if you see this in a general increased amount, noting the time it happens is really helpful for us so that enforcement can respond and in a timely manner. But yeah, that's the system that is in place for this.
I'd also like to share that we have our council member with us, Councilmember Sandy Nurse, and I believe she would like to say a few words.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add a little more to what we funded for Irving Park. So we funded a program associate. The challenge is a playground associate. The challenge is that without a bathroom in the park, they can't do robust playground programs. So what they can do is like a van. They could pull up a van with some games and stuff. But obviously that's not as exciting as a full program associate that's attached to the park. So hence the need for a bathroom. I believe also what I'm learning is that with this Portland Loo, I don't know if that will solve this issue because they need space to store stuff. So we had a meeting actually yesterday with the Parks Commissioner to talk about and asked for them to propose something creative that maybe we could fund to add on. So there's to be some storage space. Additionally, we funded movies for the park. So there'll be movies in the park. Movies also require a bathroom, but we're going to get them porta potties for the night, which is an added expense that is unfortunate because it would be great not to pay for that every time we want to do a movie. And then we also had given some money for enhanced maintenance at the park, but that is not something that Parks does, although it was a menu of options, an outdated menu of options that was provided to us last year. And it turned out that that's not something they do. So we were willing to give money for additional maintenance and maintenance, workers to keep the trash bins changed and things like that. But that's not available actually. So we have to resort that out. So just to add on a little bit more.
And Councilmember, I have a question. Will there be any opportunities to talk about capital investment in Irving Square Park?
Yes, that's a great assist. We did meet with the commissioner yesterday. We requested to do a town hall with Parks sometime in April. We're trying to land on some dates. And I've spoken with many of you in the park over this last week. And I've let many people know that that's what we'd like to do, to talk about not only the bathroom, to talk about the dog issue, to talk about the dog park potential, to talk about addressing the playground renovations that the CB4 district needs assessment has raised multiple times. So we want to have a conversation in general about how all this stuff is going to fit and meet the many different types of needs that are coming up around this park. And we want to get that to you all as soon as possible as we land on a date with Parks.
Yep, Janice.
Hi, thank you. So I think it's pretty clear that we need a bathroom in the park. I'm a runner and I can tell you, unfortunately, after 20 minutes, sometimes it's an emergency, and having a place like this would be phenomenal. And so I just think it's a question of what kind of bathroom it is. And I've also been a runner in Paris, and I put in the chat the kind of bathrooms they have there. And the advantage is that they're self-cleaning, and for the regular customer, you know, maybe it's 50 cents, and the homeless people can be given little tokens. But, you know, it serves two purposes. It can be 24 hours. It's completely safe. It's self-enclosed, self-cleaning, and it generates some kind of income to pay for the resources. And, you know, it's just a matter of distributing to the homeless population some tokens so they too can use the bathroom. So I think it's clear we need a bathroom there. It's just a matter of what kind of bathroom.
I know that is an option that the city is looking at. It's not one that Parks is currently looking at. We are exploring the Portland Loo because that is also a model that has worked well in a number of other cities.
Ms. Fuentes has her hand raised again.
Yep, go ahead, Joanna. You're muted. Joanna, did you still have a question?
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. My thing is in reference to the safety. And it's a little it's in reference to sex workers. And when you talk about sex work, it's a very complex issue. And I just think that I shared it on the chat in the Brooklyn Community Board, my concerns. So if someone wants to read it, Celeste, you could do me that favor, if you don't mind.
So I'm not able to read from the chat because I'm sitting about 20 feet away from the TV.
Sorry.
And I'm not able to see it. No problem.
All right, so
but
I'm gonna try to see.
if you would want to summarize, but I think they have spoken to the safety concern. So I don't know if you wanted to just summarize generally the concern that you have.
Yeah, just basically public safety and residents might be concerned about their safety, particularly in the areas with a high conception of sex work activities. Also public health, sex workers associated with any STDs and all kinds of other things that exploration of. I'm going in because these are the things that nobody's talking about: human trafficking, victims, sex trafficking, and I just want to take all those things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. And I think I understand where you're coming from. You know, Irving Square Park has a history. There has been criminal activity, near the park, within the park. There have been, houseless individuals that have been in the park, that have caused concerns as well. Folks have tried to help and assist them. So I think we emphasized before this presentation to the Parks Department how important it was that this proposal include, other safety features. They have spoken a little bit to that this evening. It's not just the model that they're, purchasing. They are looking to do some type of, additional customization. So I don't know if Parks would just like to, finally close us out and say one last time specifically what the security locking mechanism will be. But we can end this here because we do have to end this item and keep the meeting going. But I'll let Parks say comments.
Yeah, I could comment a little bit on that. Julie had alluded to the dormitory lock that is standard for this. That's what is going to be installed. Like when it's built, it has that dormitory lock that when you're inside, you can lock it. You can't be locked out from the inside. But, it sounds like the real concern is overnight and late night, overnight, keeping that situation safe so that when the people that come through in the morning from the Parks Department open it back up, they don't find someone or something in there that they didn't know about. So, the reality is that we have a very robust amount of people that go around the park, they fix things up, they modify things in the park just to make sure that it's New York ready. Because it really, people are hard on parks in New York. That's what it's like, and we are prepared for that. So when this thing is installed, we have a whole unit of people that can go and modify it to make sure that we have these big lock boxes that you've probably seen on other comfort stations that are basically impossible to cut the lock. Can't get in there. It's really solid. You've seen other comfort stations. These things are like tanks. So we're going to try to make it as close to that kind of like safety as possible. So once we install this thing, it's not over. We want feedback. We want feedback how it's being used and that kind of stuff. But that being said, the safety is paramount to us, not only because we're listening to the community board, but it's important to us. It's very important to us to keep this thing safe because we want this to work so that it kind of gets around the issue again that what Julie was saying is that this is an extremely expensive process of getting just a bathroom in the building. It's kind of absurd how expensive it is. This, as we were alluding to, is much cheaper, and we're full intent to make this thing work as best as possible. So I think that's the best we can offer right now, because once it's installed, it's going to be a process to make sure this thing's like a tank. But already, as it is built, it's very safe. It's catered to that people can't hide out in here. So I think we're going to make this thing very, very safe and very, very manageable for maintenance and operations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We're gonna have to end this in regards to this topic because we have some kids down there that had on this presentation, and we want to hear from them.
Thank you to the Parks Department and everyone. If anyone else wishes to submit testimony or submit comments, please feel free to drop anything in the chat. You can email the community board at bk04@cb.nyc.gov, or you can call our office 718-228-8400. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Salchi's class. We have, I believe, 2 students with us this evening. So these are our special guest speakers. For those that don't know, a little bit of introduction. Last Thursday, Community Board 4, Mr. Camacho, myself, and Ms. Jones, our Youth and Education Committee Chair, were invited by the District 32 team to have a presentation, Civics for All Week event. Over 100 participants joined that meeting. We had a discussion, talked a little bit about the community board's work, and we answered tons and tons of great questions. And they said, can we come to your meeting next Wednesday and talk about some of the work that we're doing? And we said, yes, absolutely. And so without further ado, give them the opportunity to share a little bit more about what their class is. Ms. Salchi.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, and we also heard during the recent CEC town hall meeting with Chancellor David Banks, we heard his call to encourage our students to become civically minded and engaged. And so thank you, Mr. Camacho, for that. So I have 2 students from PS 376. I am a science teacher there, and we've been working all year long looking at our community, using our community. So without further ado, I'm going to screen share, and I'm going to invite the 2 students, Liam and Jaden, to start their very short presentation. Oh, I see we have. Okay, so I believe that looks like you are controlling the presentation. Am I right about that?
Good evening, Community Board 4. My name is Liam Carrillo, and I'm from Class 504 at PS 376.
Good evening, Mr. Camacho. I am Jada Medina, and I'm also in Class 504 at PS 376. We would also like to welcome our teachers, Ms. Como, Ms. Saltree, and Kevin, our friend from NYC H2O.
In our class, we are learning about the issues in Bushwick and how we can fix them. Once every month, we will go on a walk to see if anything changed, and we will have a competition to see how much trash we can pick up, as we will see if there are any changes.
These are some examples of how our community is in need of improvement.
Our class 504 is working on a project to find the dirtiest corner in Bushwick. On Sunday, April 30th, 2023, we are going to bring the whole community together and clean up Bushwick. From what we have observed so far, there is a lot of trash near our school. We want to tell people that littering is nothing but trouble.
The garbage that you saw in the previous photos is becoming too much of a problem. If the garbage stays there, there will be more clogged storm drains and flooding. This makes our cleaning water dirty.
We need to take action before someone gets hurt. To be honest, I ask that all of you help us in our motives to clean Bushwick and inspire people to help clean our environment from all over the world.
One way you can help is to complete a survey about your opinion on the dirtiest corner in Bushwick.
Otherwise, we thank you for listening in. And remember, make sure you scan the QR code to complete the survey.
And if you have any questions for us, please state it now.
Thank you. All right, any questions from the board? Any comments? All right, Cassandra, go ahead.
I was wondering, what day is the cleanup?
It's the 30th of April.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please send us more details so I can go out there and clean with you. And we all need to clean Bushwick together. And I want to thank you for coming out. And we're here for you, and whatever you need, we're going to make sure we clean Bushwick up. Whatever you see, we're going to make sure. Whenever you see someone throwing something on the floor, you need to tell them, pick that up. We got to keep our hood clean. All right? Everyone got to do their fair share. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Reverend Seward has his hand raised, and then Zuma.
Thank you. First, I want to commend you all, Liam and Jaden, for being here and for the wonderful presentation. I just had a question regarding a potential community site. As you know, I have a church, and in the past, we've had schools who have come to do cleanup in our church. Is that something that's a possibility for your class to engage with us with?
It could be. It's just that we have to find the spot in specific. Like, we need the information about where it is and like what spot of like Bushwick, so we can find it. And one of our like times that we do the cleanup, we'll make sure that we try to prioritize to go there and clean up your spot.
Which is
Okay,
why
we can
the survey.
make that happen. Yeah. Okay. So if I just fill out with the information and then someone will contact me.
You can scan
Thank
the
you
QR
very
code
much.
that's on the screen.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for your continued work.
I believe Zuma Novoa is next.
Yes, first let me say an outstanding presentation to these wonderful young leaders that we have in Bushwick. We need more of them. Absolutely, just an outstanding job these young people are doing. As for the Q code that the young man was saying there, we just could scan it right now from our screen, or would a form or some form be sent to the community board and we can get it in our emails? And again, outstanding work.
Scan the QR code.
The link is also in the chat, I was just told.
Yeah, let's actually put the link in the chat if you can't scan the QR code.
We not as young as you with those ARCO things, but we're going to learn. You're going to teach us.
Mr.
I'm
Darby,
sorry,
I believe is next.
QARCO. I know they're trying to correct me, but
I believe our Assemblywoman has also joined us. Assemblywoman, if you're there.
I am here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great, great. I just wanted to say that outstanding job, Miss Selshi. You've never disappointed. She's been working with the kids out in the community for the longest, especially with the garden. And I'm so happy that our bright scholars, congratulations to you both. You did an amazing job presenting. And I can't wait to see what the end product is going to be, because I know everything that you guys put your hands on, you always are a success at doing it. So I wanted to congratulate you and our young scholars for doing the work that they're doing right now. Thank you, Ms. Selfie. And then I'll come back later on, Mr. Camacho, to discuss other issues, if you don't mind. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Assemblywoman.
And I believe our council member had something she wanted to say as well.
No, I also just wanted to say great job, and also great job to the students, and to the teachers. But I also wanted to give uplift New York City H2O in the equation, and your work doing the education in the classroom around this issue. Last year I came in and the students gave me a whole walking tour around the area, and was talking about storm drains and sewage lines. And so the links between what's happening in the neighborhood and in the classroom is so important. So just wanted to lift up that work for the support you're doing for our students.
Felix?
Yes, my name is Felix Ceballos, and just I want to say to those young students, beautiful presentation, and they making a beautiful and inspires for the young generation. Thank you for that beautiful presentation.
You're welcome.
Any questions or comments? All right. Yep. We have someone in person. We're going to bring the mic to them.
I got to start making noise and start yelling at us. Say, Camacho, I'm still here.
Hi, my name is Sandra. I live in the neighborhood. I want to say thank you to those students. I'm Miss Oshley. My children attend that school. She's a great teacher. But I want to piggyback on that comment about dirty streets. Lately, we've been having street vendors on our residential area. I do not have anything against anyone making money, right? Everybody has to make a living. However, the people who come to buy alcohol there, they get inebriated. They're there till 3 a.m, double parked cars. They throw the garbage from their food on our sidewalk, in our garden. And yes, we have to maintain our thing, but our street has never looked as dirty as it is now. And this is something that we've been contacting 311, your office.
They could come wherever they at,
right?
Wherever they at, if they have that permit.
Yeah, we'll discuss that. But I just want to say that's a issue that we have. Rats galore, breaking the garbage. So yes, we have to do something about the streets, but also that issue if possible. Thank you.
So, and just some clarification, a point of clarification on this. They're referencing a mobile food vendor that is on Willoughby, close to Bushwick Playground. Woodbine. I said Willoughby, the other W, my bad. Woodbine. So on Bushwick Playground, and both the community board, the council member's office is aware. We brought this to the attention of 2 agencies, both the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, as well as the Department of Health during our district service cabinet meeting.
And we also are going to have the inspector, Deputy Inspector Sarubi, go over and make sure that they have their licenses, and make sure that they're operating according to the hours of operations that they're supposed to operate there. I know it's not 3 or 4 in the morning. We know they don't have that. They're on a residential block. So we're gonna. I know that they're not supposed to be there. They're not supposed to be there. We need to find out their method of operations, because we don't know. We don't give the licenses out. There's a special agency that does that, and we want to make sure that they're in compliance. If they're not there, then they have to go somewhere else that they don't belong there. So we're gonna do our work. We want to keep the agenda moving forward, and then at the end we'll have if you have any announcements, comments, concerns, or anything, we'll address them, and then we'll get back as soon as we can. But what I want to tell everyone is, if it fixed and it's taken care of, come back. Don't wait until something happens and then you start all over. No, we're here. We're here to serve you. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you, and we're going to make sure. But remember, I know that people have to make, but there's rules and regulations they have to follow, just like they have to do all over the place. And even on a Knickerbocker, on Irving, there's more situations that there come. So we're going to address the problems and the issues. We know who they are, and we're going to make sure that it's taken care of. We saw your pictures, and we know who they are, and we're going to work with the elected officials and the city agencies to make sure. And I'm also, myself, is going to call the mayor's office and find out what's going on and how we can address some of these issues.
Okay, so we need to have one meeting. We're still in the middle of a public, these students on the line. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, we have an agenda, so please let us finish.
Okay, so you have a comment or a question for the students. We need everyone to hear what people are asking on the meeting. So. Okay. So this is in reference to the mobile
I'm talking for myself now.
food vendor under.
And I'm gonna add a little more. It is terrible. They urinate between the cars. They start when it's 11, 12, 1 o'clock. You can't find a parking. Everybody's double parked. There's arguing, there's fighting, and there's a little more going on that could make things dangerous.
All right, we will be addressing those issues and those concerns, and I will be going out there with the inspector myself and make sure.
And are in the process of coordinating a joint agency inspection to make sure it's not just one person going there and no one talking to the other person. We are trying to ensure that all the agencies involved are communicating with one another and they're addressing it together with both the council member's office and with our office. So
because PD may not know the hours and the license they have, they might know, so all the agencies can get together and we can do a task force to make sure we address all the problems. So we have an agenda to follow, and I know we have kids on the presentation and we want to move along.
Ms. Bennett's hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, one, these young people came here to tell us about the work that they're doing. They are to be congratulated. What you got this evening was a little peek at what goes on at community board meetings. We want to work with you. Congratulations. Thank you. It was wonderful. And I know you people have homework to do and school teachers got papers to grade. So if you want to leave, thank you very much. And we will invite you back.
Thank you, everyone.
Meantime, we need to move on. We need to move on. Thank you so much.
And we will follow up, Ms. Salchi. Happy to, correspond via email and from the office. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Good night. We will move on now to our final public hearing. Folks, we have Aaliyah Archibald, Executive Director for Evergreen Exchange, Elizabeth Canella, Vice President, Project Management, Totem Brooklyn, and a whole host of other project team members. I'll let them introduce themselves, presenting on the 1160 Flushing Avenue project. This is in the ULURP process. I'll let you take it from here.
Hi, you guys. I don't know how we're going to go after Liam and Jaden, because that was awesome. We're going to do our very best to share details about this exciting project, but none of it's going to be as exciting as their Earth Day cleanup, which I've already been texting my coworkers about. Let's see. Liz, shall we begin?
Yes. Can you guys see my screen? I'm having some. Yes.
I
Okay.
can see it. It's not it's not full screen, but it is there.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
There you go.
All right. We're good. All right. Hi, everyone. Liz Canella here on Totem. I echo Leah's comments. We won't be able to compare to the presentation that preceded us, but we're excited to be back. Thank you for having us again. Just by way of introduction, you all have, many of you have met us, but I'm Liz Canella, part of the Totem Development Team. My colleague Tucker Reed is also on the call, as well as a number of folks from our architect team, environmental team, to help with any questions and answers that come up. Just by way of a quick introduction, reintroduction, as Totem, we really strive to have a community-centered approach in identifying and envisioning development. And this is why we've partnered with Evergreen. Of course, you guys know Leah very well. And you'll hear a little bit more from Evergreen in a bit. And so we've partnered with Evergreen to develop a program that aims to keep in mind a lot of the visions and goals the community board themselves has set for the neighborhood. And generally, essentially all the principles that you see on the screen now, we really try to imbue in every single project. So one, affordability in both residential and also aiming to have small scale, neighborhood scale retail at every project we have, economic mobility, anything from local hiring, minority women-owned contracting, and career-focused job training, innovative partnerships like that of ours with Evergreen, but for every project, essentially to make sure that each project is accountable and responsible to each community groups, to each community, and then regenerative design or other set, like another way of saying that is sustainability. So aiming to be additive to any physical infrastructure and the environment of the block that any development would be there. So with those principles in mind, we've worked with Evergreen to help shape the program that we'll talk through today. But before that, I'll pass it back over to Leah to talk us through the next couple slides and remind us of the important manufacturing and industrial preservation visioning you all have laid out together in the past few years.
Right on. Thanks, Liz. So I'm Leah Archibald. I'm the executive director of Evergreen. We're the local development corporation that works with businesses here in industrial North Brooklyn to help them grow so that we can keep high quality working class jobs in our community. I am joined also by my colleague, Stephen Fabian, who can share some more information. So starting with this slide, here is community district number 4. You guys are the experts on it. Let's go to the next slide. I think the really interesting thing for us is the stuff on the community indicator slide. So as you guys have probably heard us say before, we work with small manufacturing businesses to help them grow because we know they are high quality jobs for folks that live in our communities. They are high quality. They pay good wages. They have benefits frequently, much more frequently than service industry jobs. They have very low barriers to entry. And then when we look at this community indicator slide, we see, for example, the educational attainment slide where, the local population has lower levels of educational attainment compared to Brooklyn and New York City as a whole. Manufacturing jobs, that doesn't matter, right? The ability to, make things and show up to work in a timely fashion. People, who don't speak English as a first language or don't speak English at all. It's all viable workforce for manufacturing jobs. And that's one of the reasons that we believe it's really important. I think finally, I'd looking at the poverty measure of the district, it's very clear. In community board 4, you've got a 25% poverty rate. This is clearly a community that will benefit from more and better working class jobs. Let's go to the next slide. And that's not just me telling you guys this, right? Our organization prioritizes it, but you guys have prioritized it through the Bushwick Community Plan. The final objective set forth that the community specifically wants zoning to protect manufacturing. It advocates for no M to R rezonings. It states in the Bushwick Community Plan that the community wishes to have Flushing Avenue entirely preserved as an industrial corridor. And finally, it recommends that outdated zoning code be updated to allow more mixed industrial commercial development. Can go to the next slide. Our organization as well undertook a study a few years ago, our Brownfield Opportunity Area Planning Study. And through that, we too recommended that, you know, this particular industrial corner of the North Brooklyn IBZ is an ideal place to have mixed industrial and commercial uses. And I'll ask my colleague Stephen to go into a little more depth on that.
Hi, good evening. I'm Stephen Fabian from Evergreen. For those who haven't met me, I'm the program manager for our real estate and for our planning projects. So our Brownfield Opportunity Area Plan was like the Bushwick Community Plan, community-driven process that took into account what a lot of the businesses and residents and other stakeholders wanted to see. And what we call sub-area D, which is basically everything, well, not quite everything, but a lot of the area south of, say, Grand Avenue, but then more to the west of the Newtown Creek, because the east is very still heavily industrial. And then below Johnson, though, everything is starting to get mixed. So we see that area as being, not just industrial, but also very commercial. Sometimes in direct conflict with each other. We have some of our most job-rich industrial anchor tenants and owners in the area, including Boar's Head, Martin Greenfield Clothiers, Wonton Food. But then when you have, all these trucks going in and out, and you have these other businesses or even some people living there, you can create conflicts. And also from a market perspective, it's very hard for the industrial businesses to compete in a heavily commercial areas. So what we think the best way to retain these job-rich companies is to encourage the mixed use, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight in the Project 1160. And we think that that is a viable way to preserve the industrial character, maybe potentially add some new industrial space, but also keep it at a decent quality, because there's what's called cross-subsidization, where the higher rents you get from a commercial use can make the industrial rents either affordable and or higher quality. So, we think this southern area is really important to stay industrial in some measure. And that, also includes the northern part of Community District 4, just across of Flushing, where this project is and, where you are all active. So.
And that's why we decided to become involved with the project, to be honest, because, because of the alignment of our goals. And, we believe that, that this cross-subsidization model, the more expensive commercial and the less expensive industrial, is going to prevent us from losing more industrial real estate than we've already lost. So that's one of the reasons that we are working with our friends at Totem and advocating for this project.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks, Steve. So I wanted to, with that background, wanted to locate us on the map of what the project. So the project we're talking about today is 1160 Flushing. So it's on Flushing between Wyckoff and Irving. So right off of the Jefferson L station. And to Stephen's point, what we're proposing here is a change from M to M, higher FAR, so M11 to M15, and essentially, to create spaces for businesses to grow. And we'll give a little bit more detail on the nuance of how that mixed use sort of interrelate. Here's an aerial of that block. So if you can see, I think you can see my mouse now. So this is sort of mid-block here, and then the rezoning would go from mid-block to the corner where the train station is. This is the aerial in plan. So 1160 Flushing is this right here, bordered by red. However, the rezoning would take it from mid-block over to the corner, again, to avoid spot rezonings from city planning. Here's a couple shots. You guys know these blocks better than us. A couple shots from different vantage points, different corners. And if you can also see sort of where we are in the map on the lower right-hand corner. And then a couple of different shots here of where the current state is. I mean, and so we call it sort of it's right where the metropolitan sign is on Flushing. What is envisioned, right? So thinking through that mixed use, thinking through the goals that Leah and Stephen just walked us through, we're hoping to have a building through that would preserve the industrial uses here. So essentially, it would create new spaces for new businesses, also create space for community-based retail, and improve the circulation in and around that building. Could create up to 40 industrial jobs. And I'll kick it back over to Evergreen to speak specifically on their role on this project and tenanting the building.
Yeah, I'll start and share a little bit about what we've been doing with our colleagues here. We've been advising the design team about the needs of industrial businesses. In addition to providing direct business services and all sorts of advocacy, we actually own and develop our own industrial property that we lease out to small manufacturers at affordable rates. Stephen's actually in charge of all that programming. So we have a pretty good idea about what small industrial tenants need. So we're helping, with the design to make sure that what's designed is appropriate for these businesses. We're helping engage with you guys, right? By coming to the community board meetings to talk about why, why we think this is a good project and how it aligns with our own organization's missions and goals, as well as the local communities. And then we plan on having a role moving forward as it's developed in identifying appropriate tenants, working with them to get them moved into the building, and then providing some level of oversight to ensure that the space that is set aside for industrial uses is in fact occupied by small manufacturers.
Thanks, Leah. So what does this look like in the building? So essentially, this is an illustrative layout with some precedents here. Ground floor would be retail space, and then the upper floors would be a mix of some retail, industrial, and office space that's meant to be flexible and sort of speak to each other throughout the building program. And of course, the design of the building draws from the local vibrant arts culture that Bushwick is and known for. And I'm going to dive into a little bit more detail on the specific floors and the circulation of the building. I'll pass it over to Tucker to walk us through the rest of the slides.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. Just want to quickly go through the building program and how it lays out after all the articulation on background here. So here you kind of see the building massing and plan. The red represents retail, the darker blue representing the industrial portion of the building, and then the upper stories are more dedicated to like pure commercial / office. One interesting feature here at the request of city planning, but also in really kind of talking this through with Leah and Stephen and others in the neighborhood, the idea of reintroducing, for folks that know the site now, you'll know that there's kind of a gate that separates Flushing from Jefferson, and there's a pass through. It's an old train line that used to run through the neighborhood, and the old train right of way is still there. So in homage to that, what we wanted to do is continue to keep that pass through and really open it back up to pedestrian circulation for the neighborhood. and create a pedestrian alley between Flushing and Jefferson that would also allow for a really interesting kind of small business retail aspect to the project. Even the entrance to the commercial space above could be off of that more intimate space on the alleyway, kind of take pedestrians away from the busy truck corridor along Flushing Avenue. And then as we move up into the building, you start to see how industrial and retail can really blend. Industrial and retail can really blend. So as we move up into the second floor, which Liz is highlighting there, you see space for retail also adjacent to industrial uses. And we've worked really hard to think with Evergreen about what type of business that could be useful for: a furniture maker, a brewery, a jewelry maker, something where you could have a making and manufacturing use kind of back of house, and then a front of house showroom, so that industrial and retail really kind of blend together here. And then as we move further up into the building, you have kind of a floor purely dedicated to retail space. The great thing about the kind of shape and geometry of the space, it's basically a square and can be divided up into any size space depending on the demands of the company and what it's looking for. And then as we move further up into the building, into the more commercial space, again, you can carve the spaces up into something as small potentially as like 1,000 square feet. Or if there was a company or tenant that wanted to bring a bunch of jobs to the neighborhood or grow here, they could take an entire floor. So hopefully it's a nice kind of working relationship between the three aspects of the commercial uses in the building. And Liz, if you advance to the next slide, I think we have a couple of examples. Again, we're only in the rezoning stage, so it's very preliminary in terms of a conceptual design, but you start to see some really nice examples of how the enhanced pedestrian experience in the neighborhood could attract both employers and create spaces for small businesses that are already in the neighborhood to potentially grow and expand. And, there's interesting precedents from around the country. The next slide, you can kind of look at some of these really successful alley spaces in other areas of the country. And, you can imagine this being open to the public during, business hours, but you also want to create public safety so that there's not opportunities for, a dangerous condition late at night or after hours. This is the existing condition today, and you can imagine that space being reimagined as a kind of pedestrian thoroughfare and commercial space for retail. I think, just the last point I just really want to make, I mean, Liz kind of talked about it on the front end that, regenerative design is really kind of one of the North Stars for us as a company when we think about building projects and communities. And so all of the latest best practices on sustainability, from green roofs to bioswales to thinking about more community facing infrastructure, bicycle parking, trash receptacles, street furniture, et cetera, we'd be really excited to continue to consult with the community board about. And I'm sure that our friends at Evergreen can make sure that that connective tissue stays strong as we pivot longer term to developing the building and then operating it, but really making sure that it has a de minimis impact on the surrounding infrastructure and also adds amenities that serve the neighborhood. So I think we just talked to you for a while there. That was like 3 years worth of work in 10 minutes, but we're happy to answer questions and essentially look forward to suggestions for improving the project. We're at the early stages of ULURP here, and we have a long way to go. And even post ULURP in designing the building, we really look forward to collaborating with the community board.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Stephanie?
Yes, thank you. In the alleyway that you spoke of for the community, will there be trees and plants, like a garden per se, to provide a healthier environment to clean the surroundings of the air?
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion and idea. There'll certainly be street trees on the street side, but as you think about the alleyway, you could think about movable planters with beautiful plantings. Also up on you see in this rendering that you see here where the Metropolitan sign is kind of sitting on top of the one-story retail building. We're envisioning that as a kind of open air plaza as well that you could access through the building. And you could think about lots of plantings and other green infrastructure, green roof type interventions there as well. So we love that idea, and it's something that we would love to collaborate on integrating here.
Great. And will there be minimal seating in the alleyway, or is there not enough room for that because of the openings of the establishments?
Yeah, I think there could certainly be, again, we got lots of time to work on it. So to the extent that, pedestrian street furniture is a desired use here, we do a lot of it in lots of our projects. We've kind of specialized in a bunch of street furniture production over the years. So it could certainly be integrated thoughtfully so that you're not blocking entranceways to businesses, but also providing a community amenity.
And just one more question is that will the alleyway be closed off after hours, or will it be secured after hours?
I think that would be the intent, unless we heard a strong objection to that. It probably wouldn't make sense for it to, from a public safety perspective, for it to be open up late at night.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Felix?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Felix Ceballos, and I'm an architect. And I have to say, congratulations. It's a very beautiful building, very beautiful design. And I am sure they're going to make a very potential impact in the community. And I hear the presentation before in housing community, and just I want to know about the parking lot again. I want reflect that situation, because we were making some question about that in our community, in the area the construction going to be. We have a huge problem with parking in the street. And I want to know what happened with the parking lot. I want you talking about that, because it's a huge building. And what happened with the parking lot? If you have some parking inside the building, because we have, like I say, we have a hard issue with the parking in the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. Really appreciate your kind comments, and would love to continue to think through with the community board on the parking front. Liz, can you pull up the loading dock, the first floor plan? So just a M15, which is the zoning that we are worked on city planning here. It does not have an on-site parking requirement. What it does do on Flushing Avenue is create a loading dock that would allow for a parking bay at for up to 3 vehicles for trucks, like loading and unloading, et cetera, into the building. So certainly in terms of like trucks and delivery, it'd probably be a better condition than the existing building, because there was no loading docks in the old building. So hopefully it would take the truck traffic off of the street to the extent that the building had any impact on that. In terms of, vehicular parking, there's not a parking requirement here per se, particularly I think city planning was really thinking through the fact that like we're half a block from the subway entrance. But hopefully taking the truck parking off the street has a real positive impact on addressing parking concerns in the neighborhood.
Tucker, let me jump in also and note that, because it was a value in the Bushwick Community Plan to keep the truck activity to Flushing Avenue, we thought it was really important to have the truck loading off of Flushing, since that's already the truck route. And that alleviates vehicular pressure, especially on the narrow streets, especially like on Jefferson, leaving that more for the pedestrian entrance. So I think this scheme actually ideally improves public safety.
Hi, my name's Ben Tucker. I'm a board member. In the committee meeting, you had mentioned that there's an opportunity to make a recommendation to DOT regarding a traffic safety traffic calming measure on, I believe it was Stewart and Flushing. I was wondering if you can elaborate on that, if it's just going to be like replacing the stop sign with a traffic light, or if it's going to be more than that.
Sure, thanks, Ben. The DOT has asked us if we would be willing to work with the city. And again, I would say this is probably, of course, subject to community board, input and desire, but potentially work with DOT to pay for a traffic light to be installed at the corner of Stewart and Flushing. To the extent that that is a desirable outcome, it's something that we're willing to do. And would most likely help with the pedestrian flow, particularly through the alley, and then creating additional pedestrian safety just on that corridor. I'm sure, the board members know a lot much better than we do, how much vehicular traffic goes on Flushing Avenue.
And this, I think, came up in the committee meeting too, but that traffic light insertion would be tied to the completion of the building. So it's not separate and apart from that.
I think Joshua Brown is next.
Hi, yes, Joshua Brown, first vice chair CB4. I know we spoke about converting from M1 to 5 zoning. Given that we can't do a spot zoning, do you have a further update regarding the business that's on Datham Street? Because given that you're doing a rezoning, Datham business value will exponentially go up. And I'm currently here in Bushwick. We've been adamant about the no M to R manufacturing to residential. However, once we go to an M5 district, that creates the potential for manufacturing to become residential. So could you just speak on the overall zoning, and if any event you purchase the adjacent business that's affected by the rezoning, is that part of the current project to expand, or have you just been in general talks with them? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Liz, you go back to the last slide, please. I think this is probably the easiest way. And Leah, why don't I start? And then if you want to add anything. So the 3 other buildings on the street that would be rezoned as part of this action, one is directly adjacent to us, is a rather tall, for people who can kind of visualize this section of the block. It's an overbuilt site already, which would kind of comply with the M15 new rezoning. It was built before obviously the existing zoning is there. So it wouldn't make any economic sense to tear that building down, because you couldn't really go any higher. And that building is really a mix of, we're familiar with the ownership. It's a woman whose family's owned it for many, many years. And she essentially rents it out to small businesses, artist studios, et cetera. So I think from her perspective, I don't want to speak for her. The board's obviously welcome to follow up with her, but the building wouldn't really be impacted by the rezoning, because there wouldn't be any change in density for her specifically. The other 2 buildings on the corner that ring the Jefferson Street subway station entrance. One is an owner occupied building at 179 Jefferson, which I think Liz is highlighting here. It's an iron shop. It's a working iron shop. The owner, has his own business there, has kind of expressed to us that, he's indifferent to the rezoning because he doesn't plan on selling his building anytime soon, and plans to continue to operate his iron shop there for many years to come. The other building is a 1-story retail building that was recently built a couple of years ago. And again, the cost of developing that new building on the corner there, it wouldn't make sense for him to tear it down and rebuild at this point, given the fact that it would just be additional commercial use. I think to your point, Mr. Brown, if there was an introduction of residential here, the economics might start to make sense where, somebody would look at a shorter building and think about redeveloping it as residential. But the M11 to M15 rezoning does not introduce any residential use here. So that economic pressure hopefully certainly would not be present here, because there would be no residential use. So hopefully that gets to your question, but Lee, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
No, I think I would just a couple of related points. Like what you see, sometimes, or at least what we saw a lot, like before the big 2005 Bloomberg rezoning, was people that, that owned a building and they stopped leasing out to manufacturers and they started leasing out to loft tenants. And then they went to the Board of Standards and Appeals and said, I can't make any money leasing out to manufacturers. And that's how a lot of those buildings turned into residential. But I can tell you, if there is demand for manufacturing space, even upper floor manufacturing space, depending on whether you can get, your goods up and down. And I don't think that there will be any hardship at all for this property to attract industrial users. That's just sharing, our experience with you about this.
Milagro Sandoval was next, I believe. Ms. Sandoval?
Jenna, I
You
just
weren't
want
finished, Joshua?
no, just
I am.
okay. In regards to that, I just want to speak on that. In regards to that, yes, absolutely. We understand that. But post rezoning, those properties value go up exponentially. So it just creates a different scenario for the property owner. And in some current state, it doesn't make sense, but post rezoning, there's an exponential value in the price, which can drive demand for possible development in the future. But thank you.
Ms. Sandoval?
Thank you. I am a community board member. Kind of to piggyback on Joshua Brown. Thank you, Joshua. These, of course, the demand goes up, prices go up, and attracts higher rents to an already strict kind of where we're dealing with a housing crisis in Bushwick and the demands of the rent. How does that affect, and isn't it more of a displacement of people that are already living?
So Millie, sorry, Millie, it's really hard to hear you. I'm not sure if other folks on are having the same issue. But we could only make out the beginning, a little bit of the beginning, but there seems like a lag or something wrong with the sound. If you wouldn't mind putting some of your question in the chat, just so we can make sure we can see it and answer it.
Sure. I'll put it in chat. Celeste, I know sometimes my
Okay, because we could hear you a little bit, but then it cuts out. All right, Cassandra is next.
Hi, I was wondering, as you build this, I know that there are concerns about the future of returning to the office and also retail and the future of malls in the US in general. So I was wondering how this project is accounting for this flux and potential ongoing conversation and shift in the landscape of what I guess what business possibilities there are.
Okay, thank you, Cassandra. Yeah, obviously there's a lot shifting, particularly in the wake of COVID as it relates to commercial space. And Leah, maybe I could talk to just the retail and commercial portion, and you could talk to the industrial quickly.
Sure thing.
Okay, so I mean, I think one thing, I mean, everyone who knows this area of Bushwick knows very well, there's a very robust retail corridor here. And I think what gives us faith in the ability to execute on the vision is the ability to really carve the spaces up into small footprints that are affordable to local retailers. And so, for a small business to be able to afford, $1,000 or a couple $1,000s a month in rent Hopefully it makes this building very accessible to them. It's not like we're trying to go lease, 100,000 square feet of retail in a mall type environment. There's a lot of very successful neighborhood retail here. And I think, working with Evergreen, the integration too, between the industrial and the retail, I don't think, Leah, there's a lot of spaces where that kind of seamless transition can happen yet in the neighborhood between, making and showroom. So I think we're really excited about that. And then also, just in terms of like strict office use, I think, we're kind of reluctant to think of this as like an office building, that this is more of like an economic development engine that we're trying to attract entrepreneurs and small businesses to. And particularly in the wake of COVID, a lot of successful kind of neighborhood centric office buildings have been, very functional across Brooklyn, as folks have been maybe reluctant to go to work in Midtown, but to the extent that they could have a desk or an office space down the street from them or in their neighborhood, where they could kind of escape from familial demands for a while or get some private space or create that space for collaboration, which is so kind of integral to successful creative companies, that this building could really cater to those types of businesses. Leah, I don't know if you want to build on that a bit.
Yeah, let me jump in on the industrial side. There's no work from home for manufacturing. You've got to show up. People don't have a CNC machine or, a spray booth in their apartments. So that's kind of one of the things we saw throughout the pandemic was, our manufacturing businesses weren't closed for very long. And they continue to need space. So, we can say, I understand that people are concerned about the potential future demand for office space, given the new work environment we live in. But I can tell you, manufacturers still need space. And Stephen can tell you, we have a long list of folks that ask us for help every year.
That makes a lot of sense, especially as a lot of manufacturing is considered essential businesses.
Right on.
Because this is so focused on that industrial use, and that seems to be the primary thing that this project is built around. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you.
Desmond
Ms.
Monroe.
Camacho, how are you? Yes, I just want to ask you, do you know who the owner is?
The owner of this building?
Yes.
The owner of this site?
Yep.
We have a long-term leasehold interest, but yes, we have a lease with a gentleman named Saul Goldman.
Desmond's had his hand up for a while. Desmond Monroe?
Yes, so Ann couldn't be here, so I'm here to kind of take her place in case anyone from the community had any questions about Euler. And I read her notes and I read the notes from the previous meetings. And it seems like this would be an economic development booster. I think one thing that I want to ask is, earlier in the presentation, you meant that the commercial would subsidize the industrial, but I know that may be a little bit wonky depending on who rents the commercial. So what tax subsidies or how are you subsidizing the industrial without the commercial? Let's say commercial, you couldn't book you couldn't book companies there. How else would you subsidize the industrial?
Thank you. I think, you wouldn't go to build this building unless you have to build all three phases at once. I'm sorry, not phases. You have to build all three uses at once, right? Both the retail, the industrial, and the commercial. So one wouldn't be dependent on each other from a financing perspective. I think what Leah means, and Leah, I don't want to speak for you, right? But
no, it's okay.
I would just say to the industrial rents are obviously much lower than potential an office rent. And so the way that you can get a building like this financed and built is using the higher rents for the office to help keep the industrial rents low, and so that it blends at a number that would allow you to get construction financing. I know Leah, you and
That is
Steve-
exactly, that's a more eloquent way of saying what I would have said. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Okay.
The idea is that the numbers have to work out, and it's not feasible to lease to manufacturers at office or even retail pricing. I mean, you won't get a manufacturer in. So that's the thing. So it's not everybody have to pay the same amount. Some pay less, some pay more, and hopefully it all blends at the end of the day.
Oh, I completely understand that, but I'm just talking about like maybe fluctuations in the market. We have no idea what's happening. So let's say there's not a lot of retail that opens up in that area, or people are on that whole work from home thing. And so there's not a lot of people looking at the office spaces, however you want to do it, co-working spaces. But let's say there's an industrial client that is depending on lower rents to make their product. And if you can't get that money, the subsidies from the other rents, what happens? So that's why I've seen like strip
Oh, I
malls.
see. I
somewhere
think
in
I
other parts-
understand now. I think I understand. Sorry to
Yeah, so
interrupt
I've
you.
seen
I think
strip
I
malls in
got
other
understand.
countries.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I've
when I
seen
might
strip
have
malls.
I might have an illustration answer for you. Maybe not an answer, but just an illustration. You know, over in Williamsburg at 25 Kent, which is this giant spec Class A office building that was kind of the first industrial commercial mixed use building that Department of City Planning allowed. The first space they leased out was to the manufacturing uses, and the office and commercial uses like are just starting to get populated. Does
Yeah,
that
I would
explain?
build on,
I
I
just
would
want to
build
do a
on that.
time
They
check
do.
here.
So
people.
okay, so what did
Hello,
they
this
do
is Joanne
with that?
Bennett, the parliamentarian. I want to do a time check. It's 7:45. We've still got a long way to go through the agenda. So if we could possibly wrap this up, I'd appreciate it. The community board would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so there, maybe we can take this offline, because there's a financial gap, because you said, you know, that's what happened in Williamsburg, but on that time where those spaces weren't being leased, where did the M&O go, like for the building, like?
So
you know,
can
there's
I,
an operating
I'm
budget
sorry,
for-
I'm sorry, so sorry to interrupt you, but just in the interest of time, I think I understand the question. And I think you don't need to think about it as a one-to-one subsidy, like you need the rent for the commercial in order to keep the industrial rents low. Like the rents on the industrial side will be set through our collaboration with Evergreen, and we'll go out to lease, you know, each use in the building at the rents that are scheduled. And it's not a matter of like, oh, if we don't get the rent on this floor, then we can't offer lower rents on the other floor. It's more on the front end when you try to go get your construction financing, demonstrating to them that the blend would allow for the financial wherewithal to get the project financed. So does that make a little bit more sense? Like one is not contingent on the other once the building is open. It's more on the front end proving to the lender that you could make the economics work. And so that's why it's so important to show a blend of uses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just add really quickly that there are other programs available for projects like this, including, you know, the IDA benefit, the ICAP, and trickling on down through different incentives that we actually help businesses get on a regular basis, you know, in our day-to-day work at Evergreen. So I'm sure that the Totem folks are pursuing those as is appropriate. You know, they have different eligibility requirements, but if you can get them some things that reflect your investment into the property, you know, coming off your tax burden, you know, other things like that, or finding ways to give the businesses opportunities to cut costs, you know, that can also help make a project more economical when you hit your curveballs that are inevitably going to come through any development deal. So.
Thank you.
All right, so I know Millie put her questions in the chat. Is someone from the presentation team able to take a look and see who might be able to answer them? And then we will open this to the public and then wrap this up.
Yeah, I think I can. So I think I could see this. The first question, the area has residential tier 2 housing, so no one could say there'll be no residential in the area. I mean, clearly there are residential blocks around this property, though this rezoning is, I mean, and everything to the, Leah, help me, everything to the south of us is all zoned for M, right? So it's all zone manufacturing. So.
And this is in the industrial business zone
Right,
as well.
and this is in the IBZ, so it's protected from any residential use being added. why so high? I guess in terms of the number of stories, we really tried to and worked really hard with city planning to keep this in the context of the surrounding buildings. We mentioned the building next to us, that's the existing industrial building. We're only about 2 stories higher than that. So, we tried not to be offensive in terms of the amount of density and worked really hard with Evergreen in terms of arriving at, what the right zoning approach here would be. And then, the building would not be a WeWork.
Okay, anyone from the public, anything in the chat, any hands? I see none, I hear none. So we thank you to Evergreen and to Totem Brooklyn for the presentation and for answering the questions. And we will further discuss this later in tonight's meeting. So that closes our public hearing items for this evening, our agenda. We will now move on. We understand if you have to go, but the board has the rest of their meeting to begin. Board members, please be ready for the first roll call.
Thank you so much, you guys. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. So have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Isa Abni. Stephanie Anderson.
President Celeste, sorry.
Okay, yep.
Sorry,
Board members,
Celeste,
please. Yep, please be ready.
Stephanie
Grace
Anderson
Yates.
here.
Got you, Stephanie. Got you, Isa. Joanna Bennett.
Here.
Joshua Brown.
Present.
Raul Brown. Robert Camacho.
Present.
Felix Carrera Solano. Melissa is excused. Felix Ceballos.
Present.
Andrew Choi. Alvina Davis.
Present.
James Fitzgerald. Freddie Fowler. Joanna Fuentes.
Present.
Christopher Graham.
Present.
Ann Guiney is excused. Hadia Harrison. Tanisha Honeygan. Barbara Jackson. Virgie Jones.
Present.
Luisa Jose is excused. Nicholas Kaplan.
Present.
Kwebe Koti. Cassandra LeVay.
Here.
Mary McClellan. Imani Mitchell.
Present.
Got you, Imani. Desmond Monroe. Zuma Navoa.
Present.
Kyle O'Rourke. Asire Polite. Raul Rubio. Eliseo Ruiz.
Hey, Eliseo Luis here, present. Thank you.
Thank you. Milagros Sandoval.
Present.
Bernadina Shell. Barbara Smith.
Present.
Maria Soler. Dustin Sonborn.
Present.
Got you, Maria. Dustin Sonborn. Annette Spellin.
Present.
James Stewart.
Present.
Ben Tucker. Tashana Wade. Carlotta Williams.
Present.
You have to go back in and save Veronica Shell.
Is she here? Okay, I didn't hear her say.
I'm
present.
here. I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here. I'm
okay.
here.
Got you now. Thank you. If I
Thank you.
can't hear you folks, then I can't mark you as present. So if
I
anything
don't know
happens, you can
why.
always tell me after the roll call.
Okay,
27
thanks.
board members present. That constitutes a quorum. Thank you, everyone.
Celeste,
All right.
this is Jerry. I'm sorry, I didn't hear my name.
Hey, Jerry, sorry about that. We have
No problem.
28 board members present. That constitutes a quorum. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on now to the acceptance of the agenda. Is there a motion from the board? Raul moved to accept the agenda.
Second Camacho.
Mr. Camacho seconded. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Third is the acceptance of the previous meeting minutes. I'm still behind on the minutes. I wanted to make sure we had all the other reports for this meeting. I kindly ask if the board would table the minutes.
I request that you table the minutes.
I second Barbara Smith.
Oh.
second, okay.
Okay, Raul said it in person. He seconded the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstained? So moved. Thank you, everyone. Agenda item number 4 is the chairperson's report. Mr. Camacho.
It's been a long day, guys, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Thursday, February 16th, Hope Garden, 195 Linden. There was an election. It was a little crazy, but NYCHR came to give the new TA, try to form some sort of election. It didn't work out too good, but eventually they're going to do it again sometime in the near future. I don't know when. On Tuesday, February 21st, at 6:30, the A3 Precinct Council Community Meeting. Wednesday, the 22nd, CB4 at 6 o'clock, the APT Parks and Recreation Committee. Thursday, the 23rd, CB4, 2 p.m., Shape of Bushwick. Then from there, I went at 3 o'clock to 195 Linden. They had the health wellness workshop there in here. So I came over on Thursday, the 23rd, the ULUP workshop, CB4 at 1340 Gates. Let me tell you something, guys. It was the easiest thing in the world. I couldn't believe I did a veggie sandwich. You know, I don't eat veggie sandwiches, but I was forced under the ULUP workshop to eat a veggie sandwich. So I know we had our mayor here, we had our borough president, and we had people from the community. Obviously, I had a side with them. So eventually we did our sandwich, and the developer wasn't too happy, right? He had made no money on the sandwich, but it's all right. Now he learned. On Friday, February 24th at 6 p.m. At 195 Graham. Thank you, Assemblywoman Marissa Davila. We went over to Williamsburg. She had the Black History. She gives award there to beautiful people over there, Black History Month. So I want to thank everybody that came out, the board members that came out. It was in Williamsburg, the Senior Center. On Monday, February 27th at 1 p.m. CB4 Affordable Housing and Bushwick meeting we had. Monday the 27th at 2 p.m. the A3 Precinct meeting with Deputy Inspector and the community partners and the A3 Precinct Council. Obviously, there was no hate relationship in regards to that letter that they wrote out. Hopefully, it was taken care of. We don't know if it did or if it wasn't, but obviously we didn't hear anything else about it. I know the council was there and all the community partners and the inspectors and PD was there. So on Tuesday, the 28th, February 28th at 10 o'clock, City Hall with a community board district managers hearing on government affairs. I guess Celeste will speak on that, on her, because I didn't want to get into, I know I testified. They had cheek dragged me along. So on Tuesday, the February 28th, 6:30, the CEC Town Hall at 195 Harmon Street. The Commissioner Bank was there. Wednesday, March 1st at 4 p.m., the meeting with, me and Celeste had a meeting with on Zoom with the Commissioner of Health from 345 Central in regards to what's going on there, what's happening when things are moving along, programming that they want to put in there. So on Wednesday, March 1st, CB4, 6 o'clock, Executive Committee. Thursday, the 2nd, 10, walk through Hope Garden with elected officials. Pretty clean, not as clean as we wanted to, but it is what it is. Obviously, we keep doing their job, but they don't do theirs. So Thursday, March 2nd, 6 p.m., inducting of the new Supreme Court on PS 34376. I went to that on Friday, March 3rd at 8:30, Riseboro Breakfast at 1875 Broadway. On Friday, the 3rd at 10, that was at 8:30. They gave us breakfast in the morning, so I had energy for 10 o'clock, the RAD meeting. And that same Friday at 4:30, there was a meeting with the A3 Precinct, a councilwoman, and people from the block on 1312 29 Willoughby, which is our famous moonrise. 276 complaints. And that same night when we had that meeting, they received 2 more additional summons. So I'm just letting the committee know when they come for y'all know what to do. On Monday, March 6th at 11, was in the office, the CB4 check-in. Thank you, Celeste. You like me checking in all the time. On Tuesday, March 7th, 85 Palmetto, there will be a youth summit. We're working on it with 3 CBOs. It's going to be youth-driven. We're going to ask them what they need, what's their concern. Some of the topics that I have here are making sure that the youth can work together with their officers, have an open dialogue, do a roundtable summit. There are some topics that we're issuing. So thank you guys that are getting involved and making sure that we let the officers know that we're here for them. There's good and bad in everybody. So let's weed out the bad guys and keep the good guys there. So, and make sure that the morale in the precinct is wonderful because we need them more than ever. Everybody knows that they're retiring like hotcakes and people leaving the job. And young kids are taking their uniform and says, I don't need this. So we want to make sure that when we call 911 that somebody answers. We don't go back to the 60s and 70s. On Wednesday, March 8th, 10:30, CB4 District Service Cabinet. We had all the city agencies there. I want to thank everybody for coming out. On that same day at 12 p.m., the 8th Precinct Advisory Council. That Wednesday at 4 p.m., me and Celeste were in Manhattan with the EPAC art in Manhattan. Celeste will fill you in. It was beautiful. They're also going to do space. That was between the World Trade. The 2 new World Trade Centers is in the middle. Is a diamond placed thing made out of a cube. It looked like a cubic, one of those cubic things. But when you walk inside, it's really big. They're gonna do art, drama studios and things. They also are gonna have the kids in the school. They can do it. So let's fill you in on more stuff. It was crazy. I got a video of it, but I can't show it now. But on Thursday, March 9th at 10 o'clock, District 32, engagement in the community advocacy, which was the youth, the young kids. Oh boy, they asked us a lot of questions. They had over 100 and something kids in that. I couldn't even believe it. They were asking us questions, and you thought that young man that was here, you should see all of them. I was like, wow, I don't think I was as smart as that kid, them kids when I went to school. So thank you, Superintendent, and the teachers that came out and make sure. On Thursday, March 9th at 3 p.m., El Puente, get out the vote. So let's fill you in on that because it's really intense. I think there's some money that we're supposed to be voting on. So guys, there's going to be boxes out there. Please vote on those boxes. I know Raul Rubio is part of that. So Raul can also fill you in on that. It was nice. They don't like me to be there because I'll be making jokes at everything. So you know how that works. On Friday the 10th at 10 o'clock, I was in the racial impact study on Zoom that they have now, that some of the developers have to do now. On Saturday, there was a press conference at 11 o'clock with Congresswoman Vasquez, also both Jennifer Gutierrez and Sandy Nurse, in regards to the e-bike fire that was happening in Bushwick and all over. Our thoughts and prayers go out to that senior. She passed away. The bikes, we got to stop charging the bikes at home, man. Something's got to be done. We don't know what's going to happen with the house. So you know what happens when it burns down, right? Ching, ching, let the cash register ring, and developers are coming in there. So we're going to have big, used houses, and, you know, we're burning down and we're dying, and all of a sudden, here they go. So we really need to do something about those e-bikes, man. We either need to register them, get them insurance, Because I know if I rent my apartment and the guy downstairs got an e-bike, he better have insurance. Because if he set my house on fire, we're gonna have a problem. I'm gonna have nowhere to live. So we want to make sure we continue. It was really and it was cold that day too. So on Tuesday the 14th, 6 p.m., permits and license. Y'all gonna hear that. That's gonna be another story. On Wednesday the 15th, March the 8th, precinct clergy, which was today, and the full board meeting. I think that it's Celeste handed me something here. Guys, please don't forget the bylaws revision. Review it, add, because I would have to read it 3 times. I don't have time to read it now. Can I, or?
Yeah, so yes, the way this works, you have to
Okay.
summarize the.
I'm gonna
recommendations.
summarize.
But for one point of clarification, the committee is responsible for reviewing all recommendations. The full board, if you review the bylaws and you have any suggestions, and thank you to those that have already emailed their suggestions, please feel free to email me directly, Kim directly, the general email, or call us and let us know. But this process is happening now. It started last month. The committee is very small, so I thank the folks that reached out after to volunteer to review some of the materials as well. Anyone can be a part of the committee. It is open to the board members, so anyone on the board can be a part of the committee, excuse me. And the committee will be reviewing all recommendations. Mr. Camacho is going to summarize the recommendations that have been listed so far for everyone to be aware. One more meeting, the final recommendations, unless the committee needs more time to finalize the recommendations, will be read next month, so then the board can vote to finalize them.
Correct.
If there's more time that's needed, the board will make that known during that meeting. This is the second of 3 times Mr. Camacho is reading the amendments. that are
Correct,
recommended.
which is a OML amendment, allowing hybrid meeting, board members with circumstantial, such as immobility impaired, weak human system caretakers, or old parents may attend the meeting remote after informing the district manager in their intent. Also, Article 7, C3, executive, or they want to change is the Article 7, executive board, add with exception of the chair, who is also the district office committee chair. And Section D, add executive office for the executive officer, each standing committee chair and executive officer shall be mandated to attend the board annual budget meeting. Article 8, duties of executive board, update the language on C4. On B4, C2, update the language. D to F, a task currently handled by the board's office, update language, which you'll see if you look at your the bylaws, you can go line by line with this and know what we're talking about. Non-board members edit a public meeting as per language of the city charter. Public members shall be appointed at the discretion of the board chair in September and in January, and midterm appointments. Article 7D, remove from the board. It says to add emails, extended time frame for board office to respond. Any member shall receive written notice to certified mail, return receipt request, and email within 30 days of the last absent. Pretty good. Sounds good. Okay. Amendments shall be mailed and emailed. And that's it. These are other suggestions that they had. And that's it, right, Celeste? Okay, wait, I'm not finished. And it's as everyone knows, the city plans to open a new shelter with 600 male amnesty seekers at 455 Jefferson Street. Also, I told you about the Moonrise 1349 Willoughby complaints. There was another meeting and they received, like I told you, a violation. Also, we did receive complaints about the mobile food. Just letting people know, the board do not issue permits or license. Or 311, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection and Department of Health are responsible for enforcement. If they have not responded to any complaints, please contact the office. Also, I wanted to let y'all know, board members' attendance reminder, the bylaws. The only way you could be marked excused, illness, death in the family, accident, religious observance, or work obligation. And also we also gonna do, we have our elections. It should be in April, so please let us know if you want to join the ad hoc committee. We will have the vote in April. So that's it, I think. Any questions, concerns, answers, please?
All right.
Hi, Raul Rubio, second vice chair. Just a question on the youth summit that you were talking about. What's the age group of the kids that are going to be?
You got it. The age group are, I think it's 19, 21.
12 to
12 to, let me see, wait, I'm going to tell you right now. I know she wrote it. We have it in a
12 to 19.
12 to 19.
12 to 19. Okay.
12 to 19.
So my question is, so the kids that did the presentation today, are they old enough to be part of that summit? Because obviously they have a group of kids that they're fifth graders, so they're 10 or 11. Okay, so then they finally kind of fall out of that. Okay. Because I was thinking that would be a really good opportunity to have.
We could still. Yeah, they're gonna share the information. We can really, because we're just, if you want to be part of it, I know there's another meeting I can send you where we meet. So there's 3 to 4 organizations that are conducting this. So I know Anita Haynes, Paula Melendez from the Hope Garden, and a couple of other people that are, and also the sergeants and the officers from the YCO, which is the youth officers there. They want to do it. So I'll fill you in on more info. I think maybe one of them might be on there. Maybe want to ask. Also, anyway, I'll do it in court in informational. All right. I think that's it.
Any other questions for Mr. Camacho regarding his report? All right. Hearing none, we will move on. I know we have 2 of our elected officials with us this evening. Councilmember Nurse is here in person, and then we will call on Assemblymember Mirza Davila. Councilmember Nurse.
Everyone, I will be just wanted to share a few quick updates. One, on the 21st, Councilmember Gutierrez and I are hosting a virtual RAD Academy. I know many of you have been to those, but please spread the word. We want to make sure people know how to fight and mitigate against the rodent population. Speaking of which, we had a hearing today. This is budget month for the city. So the city budget is in the process of being negotiated now. There was a sanitation hearing today. There was a 8-hour education hearing today to discuss the $295 million in proposed cuts to the Department of Education. So many people came out. I hope to see you all at different budget hearings in May as well. In terms of e-bike legislation, just a quick announcement that the council did pass a bill that will start to end the sale of lithium-ion batteries that do not have a certain certification. The current batteries can be opened up and people change out the cells. The reason why these fires happen is because they take out the cells of the batteries and put them into other batteries to try to make a new battery, and that causes the fires. So the legislation will now be sunsetting that option. So retailers would not be able to sell those in 180 days. And then Councilmember Gutierrez and I both have different pieces of legislation around e-bike battery disposal and education. So we're looking forward to moving that. Just a quick update. There was a town hall on Saturday around Broadway Junction to just talk about the half a $500 million that are coming to the junction in new elevators, 7 new elevators, as well as a lot of the work that we've been advocating for with DOT around the paint and the pedestrian safety. And just to let you all know that Callahan Kelly Playground, which was funded a long time ago, is now going to be opening next month. So we'll let you all know when that happens, but there's going to be a lot of infrastructure there. And so this is great to have this additional park in the community. And then finally, Callahan Kelly. And finally, participatory budgeting. We are getting ready for Vote Week, which is March 25th through April 2nd. We had about 50 projects across the district be proposed, and people had really great ideas. Some of them just didn't, unfortunately, fit into the category of what could be funded. However, Bushwick had three projects that are on the ballot that you all should come out and vote for. One is an auditorium upgrade for Bushwick High School. Another is street tree planting on Wyckoff. There's a sanitation cameras being proposed, and gym upgrades at PSIS 45. So please come out. We'll share the schedule of when you can vote, but it's the 25th through the 2nd. And then right after this, we're going to start the next cycle. So start thinking about how you could spend $1 million in capital funding in Bushwick. So that's it. Just wanted to share those updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Are there any brief questions for the member? Otherwise, we will move on to the Assembly members' updates. Seeing no hands, nothing in the chat. Assemblymember Davila.
Hold on 1 second. Let me put myself in a secure place. Hold on. Well, first of all, I wanted to say hello to everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to kind of give you a brief update on the budget, state budget. We are now up in Albany. I'm in Albany. We are negotiating a $242 billion budget this year, and it's taking a toll on us. We're trying to get our fair share for our schools, our hospitals, especially safety net hospitals, in which we are proudly, hold on 1 second, please. We are proudly trying to fund adequately. And we also are trying to get some capital funding for our schools as well. And just wanted to talk a little bit about bring up some issues that we are having with the quality of life. I'll put my lights on. In the Bushwick community, a lot of them being an exacerbation of different clubs popping up on Wyckoff Avenue. I'm not against businesses. I'm not against, small businesses and people making their money. But it is becoming a little overwhelming, to say the least, when we are dealing with an enormous amount of foot traffic. We have too many food trucks in one area, garbage all over the place. I wanted to suggest to the community board that a task force be formed with the business owners in that area, because we have to regulate that. There's no way that, we're going to continue to have businesses open up clubs anywhere, everywhere, all the time. We came out of that problem back from the 70s, 80s, 90s to the early 2000s. We fought to ensure that our communities were safe. that people can live in them. And it's almost as though we are reverting back to what, what we've already tried to clean up. Another issue which we have brought up to the police department. I know that people want to see a lot of trees being put up. Council member, I appreciate that. I love trees. But the one thing that what we're not thinking of is we have to start minimizing the drug usage on these tree pits. People are surrounding the tree pits in the summer. That's where they're ingesting their hypodermic opioid use, and they're leaving the needles in the tree pits. This has been an overwhelming issue. Needless to say that the council members and I are going to be working together with La Nueva Esperanza to put together a program in which this is the only way we think it's going to work, is to give containers to the drug users where they can safely discard their hypodermic needles. Now you would say, well, no, what's to say that they're going to use that? Well, the incentive is that for every 10 needles that they put in those containers, they will get $5, right? It may not eliminate the drug usage, but it will keep our children safe, because as you are all aware, they're using a lot of, drug users are going in the backyards of our schools. There's a lot going on in our district, and we see it. Look, nobody's doing anything new. I think that whatever it is being done now, this is a repeat of the early 80s and 90s. Okay, so nobody is being innovative about what is going on in our district. I also want to just bring up the point. I know that there was supposed to be a presentation. I apologize if I missed it. I don't know if it's already happened. They are proposing a place to do roller skating or roller blading for 1,000 people. I don't have a problem with roller blading or roller skating. I think it's a great idea, but I don't know if people want to roller skate or roller blade up to 4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. I know there will be alcohol, and I know that, it's cool to rollerblade or whatever, but not until 4 o'clock in the morning, especially when it's a congested area. I would really ask all of you to consider the time in which, this business is going to operate. Furthermore, I have some news to report. I think that you all have been seeing it on the news as it pertains to the asylum seekers. They are closing down the the Brooklyn Navy Yard. This is where they were staying, where the mayor had put in 1,200 beds. They have to move that, and so we are getting about 600 of those males in our district, approximately at 455 Jefferson Street, between Cypress and St. Nicholas. This is not anything we had a choice in doing. I was just advised of this yesterday. Needless to say that the council member was also surprised, Jennifer Gutierrez, because that's part of her district, as well as the congresswoman and the senator. We have to ensure that we're not saying that we're not going to take our fair share, right? Because we would be hypocrites in saying that we cannot help people. However, we have to make sure that it's regulated and that there is programming in there, and that they understand that exactly where the asylum seekers are being put is risking them, because the mere fact that Wyckoff Avenue is such a busy corridor where there's so many clubs and so much activity, I don't know how this is going to work. So I can't tell you how it's going to work. I know that OEM will be part of it. Health and Hospitals will be part of it. HPD, but I don't know what type of programming will go in there. I believe it's just a hub where people come in and then they place them in shelters to that effect. And it's only asylum seekers. That's all I know as of now. So I just wanted to give you a little synopsis on what's happening on my behalf. And again, I know that a lot of homeowners are going to come out and be against it. So I would ask the chairman and the manager to be aware of that. I'm sure you are. But you know, we're just going to have to work through this as we always have. We're troopers. We can get through a lot of things. Other than that, I'm open for any questioning if you have any on. I'd be willing to answer any questions you may have for me. Thank you, Camacho and Celeste, by the way, for
Thank
doing
you.
such a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. I see Joanna has her hand raised.
Mhm.
Hi, Maritza. Thank you so much. I want to commend you on that idea in reference to the needles. I understand some people may look at it like, okay, you're going to kind of put money in their pocket so they could continue to buy drugs, but I get it. But what they're going to do is that they're actually going to pick up the needles because they want to probably, get the next fix. But at the same time, can we incorporate something to the effect of kind of in those bottles, a recommendation of programs where they can call in case they want to have some help? My father was a junkie and he died of an overdose. And he used to be the tester of drugs. So it's dear to me. So I believe that I get it. And I love that you're doing that. But can we put something in those bottles? Basically, hey, there's help here. What do you think?
Well, that's a great question, and I forgot to mention that again, or I might have. It's La Nueva Esperanza. So they are going to be going into an HIV nutritional program that also provides drug counseling and a safe haven. So they're going to be walking into a program already. This is an incentive so that they can do both, collect the needles and also be able to get the information and the help that they need immediately. And so
Awesome.
that they can feel comfortable walking into these places and saying, and those counselors are going to continue to talk to them. You can go, if you have a problem, we can help you. Do you need clothing? Do you need food? Do this is going to become a safe haven. So
Awesome.
that's the idea.
That is great, Maritza. Thank you so much. I commend you. Also, and there are going to be opportunities for partnership.
Oh, absolutely. We recommend that if anyone, once we roll out the program, it's already been accepted through the city. Again, Jen Gutierrez has a lot to do with this and La Nueva Esperanza. Once we roll it out, I promise you, I will give you all the information. How many containers? I believe they've already accepted over 100 containers. They're going to be given out. I will let you know where and when people can pick them up. And so that way, you can give the information. You can give the information forward.
Very well said. Thank you.
No problem.
Joshua Brown has his hand.
Hi, Maritza. Today we have a vote on 1160 Flushing for the ULURP project that's about to possibly happen. Could you share your thoughts on it and which direction you're leaning as our councilman?
I apologize for, again, I'm in Albany. We're passing a very robust budget, so I cannot comment on something I have not the privilege of listening to. So I need more information in order for me to comment on that. So listen, I trust that that community board 4 knows exactly what they're doing, what the issues are. You know, I don't want to comment on something that might be great if I don't know what it relates to. I know that I heard a little bit about affordable housing, some small business opportunities, but if I told you I stayed on the entire event, I didn't, because we had other meetings to attend. So
Excuse me, just a time check. It's 8:30. Want to take any more questions, Celeste?
Thank you, Madam Parliamentarian. Yes, I see Zulma has her hand raised, but just a point of information, Josh, I didn't hear your question. Someone was asking me something in person. Can you just clarify what your question was so I can have it for the notes?
Yes, ask Maritza to give her input on the 1160 flush and vote that we have later today regarding the ULURP.
Got it. Thank you. Zulma?
Yes, good evening. And first of all, Ms. Maritza, it's wonderful seeing you and wishing you the best of health. You look fabulous, and thank you for everything you're doing for us. My question to you is, I'm very familiar with 455 Jefferson, because that's a building we use also for COVID. And I was very stunned yesterday myself to find out that we were having new guests coming into our community. And yes, we're resilient and we'll do the best we can. But my concern is that you and other leaders didn't even know, but yet the owner of that building knew. And that to me raises a very big question. And the reason I say that, because I ran the COVID team in that building. With that being said, my other concern is not far from there. There is a family shelter, a big family shelter. So how are we going to balance everything? Again, we're very resilient. We'll do what we can do to, for the safety of this community. But moving forward, how are we going to deal with things like this? And I'll just mute myself.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. I have the same concern as well. Like I said, I found this out early yesterday morning as I was coming into the Capitol, and I went back and forth with the mayor's people. Usually, we get these facilities. It's not a mistake that we don't know about it. It's done purposely, because we are such great fighters that they fear letting us know what's going on. I asked for a walkthrough because I knew nothing about this facility. Before they brought in the asylum seekers, I was told that they cannot do that right now, that they will do it while the asylum seekers are in the facility, which is kind of weird, because usually their identity is kept very secretive. The asylum seekers should not be subjected to elected officials going into the facility at this point, because their identity. And I can understand that, but let us not get it wrong. We are going to regulate a lot of the things that happen there, especially as it pertains. We are Cypress Avenue. Once you cross Cypress Avenue, you're already in Ridgewood. So it's going to be kind of, it's two communities, right, that did not know about this. And so my guess is that there will be future larger scale meetings to take place to have this discussion. And it's up to the community to decide how we want to, handle this. But again, they're going to look at us and say the same thing, like, oh, everybody needs their fair share. Well, guess what? We do have a lot of shelters in our district. We do have families that are asylum seekers. We have a 400-bed shelter for men. But we know what the programming is in all of those places. We just don't know how this is going to work. And I assure you that the Congresswoman, as well as I, and the council member will be having discussions to ensure that this is implemented very carefully in our district. And if not, then they're going to have to really find somewhere else. That's the way it's gonna be.
Assemblywoman, I just, I want to let you know, we called, the mayor's office and we didn't get any, information in regards to what's gonna happen there and what's going on. People said they'll get back. I have Celeste, she'll tell you that as of now, we haven't, received anything at all. So I don't know what they're hiding and what's going on.
Both Health Hospitals Corporation and the Office of Emergency Management were on the same thread. I was advised to contact them by DHS because we also had no information about this. We did not receive the press release. DHS referred me to them. They referred me to the mayor's office, and we are starting to receive calls as of today with folks that are concerned. So I would just say, you know, I know we are pressed for time. We have a lot of important issues we want to discuss, but what I advise the person who called us today to do, it's one thing to call. We understand if you're not able to send an email, but if you are, please email us your concerns, your questions, because that is proof that we can then send to the agencies, to the mayor's office, to our elected officials to further advocate for ourselves here and let them know that there needs to be accountability. We are not saying no to folks that are in need. What we're saying is that we deserve to be informed and we deserve to be a part of this process to make sure that our community is safeguarded and that we can all work together. So thank you, Assemblywoman, for speaking on this and for your support.
And thank you once again. Be reassured that we were on top of it from the moment we had the information. So I want people to be reassured that we are working on it. And as soon as we have more information, you guys will be the first to know.
Ms. Fuentes
Thank
has her hand raised. Can you be quick about it? Sorry for the interest of time.
Brief, yes, brief comment.
No, I don't have a question. I'm gonna lower my hand down. Sorry.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Assemblywoman. So
No problem.
that-
Thank
Thank you. All right, that concludes the remarks from our elected officials this evening. We will now go through introductions of any representatives that are on. Please raise your hand. If for whatever reason you're missed right now, you will have an opportunity to speak later, but please raise your hand. Starting with the Borough President's Office.
Hi, everyone. Lacey Tauber, Legislative Director for the Brooklyn Borough President's Office and rep for CB4. I'll put my contact info in the chat. Good to see you all.
Good to see you. District Attorney's Office.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Jonathan from the Brooklyn DA's office. Our address is 350 J Street and our phone number is 718-250-2340. I'll put my information in chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator's Office. Senator Salazar's office. You're muted. All right, we'll come back.
Hi,
Congresswoman,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maria Valdez from the Office of Senator Salazar. Address is 212 Evergreen Avenue. Phone number is 718-573-1726. Thank you.
Thank you. Congresswoman Velasquez's office.
Good evening, Chairman Camacho, Celeste, and all the board members. Congresswoman Velasquez is in Washington, but extends her warmest greetings, especially as we celebrate Women's History Month. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on a few recent initiatives. Last week, the Congresswoman.
Jonathan, respectfully, this is just name and contact info right now.
Okay, got you. Okay, so Jonathan Betancourt, Representative Nydia Velasquez. Our address is 266 Broadway, Suite 201.
Thank you. Councilmember Gutierrez's office.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Juan Pianceta here, community organizer for Councilmember Jennifer Gutierrez. Our office is at 244 Union Avenue, and I'll put down my contact info in the chat. Thank you.
And the Public Advocate's office.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Emmett Sklar, the Brooklyn Borough Advocate for the Office of the Public Advocate. We're at 1 Center Street, but I'm going to put our constituent service team's contact in the chat. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I thought I saw Yvette briefly raise her hand. Yvette, if you want to go ahead.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Yvette Lopez. I'm the Communications Director for Assemblywoman Maritza Davila's office. And I'll also put my information in the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Any agency and or community-based organization representatives, please raise your hands. No one, so I'm sorry, excuse me, no one on the meeting can hear you because they can only hear you through the mics. So we're gonna pass you the mic, no problem. No, it's okay.
How's everybody? My name is Pablo Rivera, and I'm Assemblyman DeLong's new community liaison. We are 366 Cornelia Street. Our phone number is 718-386-4576. We're there to serve you as best we can, and anybody that has any concern, they could contact me after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? The mic is coming. Yeah, name and contact info, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Venus Canterbury. I'm the Brooklyn Outreach Coordinator for the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board. The office of our the address of our office is 100 Church Street, Lower Manhattan, 10th floor, New York, New York 10007. And my number is 917-742-4098. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. All right, seeing no other hands, seeing no one else in the chat, we do not have anyone from the 83rd precinct with us this evening. They send their regards. The captain was unable to attend. And that said, that concludes the chairperson's report. Woo. We'll now move on to the district manager's report. My gift to you this evening is that I will keep it very brief. I'm going to say under 3 minutes. I will do my best. So good evening, everyone. Happy Women's History Month and belated International Women's Day. The district office update. We are still very short-staffed, limited capacity. Myself and Kim, we are the only 2 people in the board's office. The good news is we confirmed Sharon's final date on the board's payroll is March 22nd. More information for the vacant position will be available before the end of the month. Thank you to the board members and non-board committee members for your support with meeting reports and everything else during this time. And then below, of course, are the meetings and events that I attended in the past month. I know Mr. Camacho mentioned I would speak and provide more detail about many of these meetings, but I won't do that this evening because I think this meeting has been long enough. But I would encourage all board members, anyone to review these. I will highlight a few that were important. All of them are important, but a few are highlighted, spotlighted meetings and events that I attended. On Tuesday, February 28th, Mr. Camacho spoke about the Council Government Operations Committee hearing. This was specifically on support for community boards and diversity of the boards themselves. None of the community boards were asked to testify as panelists. Only the Civic Engagement Commission, the Borough President's offices, and the Office of Technology and Innovation were there formally to testify. However, 9 district managers and 1 chairperson, Mr. Camacho, attended and also provided testimony before the committee, vocalizing the needs that community boards have around different issues, whether it's staffing, operations, technology support. Most of the work that we've been doing, as you've heard me talk about, the Future of Community Boards Working Group, we continue those conversations and hope that the Council GovOps Committee and, of course, our local elected officials will support our efforts with this. The work that we do in that group will only help us to more effectively serve our communities. And on Wednesday, March 1st, some folks may or may not know, but on February 28th, there was also a hearing for the Landmarks Preservation Commission regarding the proposed Linden Street Historic District. I highly recommend you review the hearing video. We have some advocates from Bushwick that spoke very well during that meeting. In particular, one of our non-board committee members, Dr. Deborah Hicks, who lives on Linden Street, whose family has lived there. Her words were almost like poetry. I even played them during the executive board meeting earlier this month. It's looking like Bushwick will get the first historic district, but we shall see. And that same day, we had a conversation with Dr. Zahira McNatt, the Assistant Commissioner for the Bureau of Brooklyn Neighborhood Health, the Center for Health Equity and Community Wellness. This is regarding 335 Central Avenue, which is the Bushwick Public Health Office. The rehabilitation project is underway, and they continue to put themselves in a position to be our partners once that work is done, for us to further amplify the resources and services that are already there, including primary care, pediatric care, and a whole host of other programs for youth, for the whole family, maternal care services. They want to be our partner, and they want that space to be for the community. And these are all stemming from concerns many board members may recall, common questions in the past. What's happening at 335? We don't know what's happening there. We know what's happening there now, and we want to make sure that everyone does as well. And I want to say thank you to both Kim from the board's office as well as Councilmember Gutierrez's office. We participated in a 311 community walk. This was on Friday, March 3rd. The board continues to move this initiative forward. Please, anyone can participate. A community walk is really easy. You walk down the street, you notice any concerns, you let us know. It's pretty much what you would do whenever you would call 311 on a standard basis, but it's taking your whole block into consideration. And then of course, communicating that directly with the community board. And on Tuesday, March 7th, there was a meeting with Assistant Chief Scott Henderson for Patrol Bureau Brooklyn North. This was an introduction and a check-in. Mr. Camacho also attended, as well as Ms. Spellin, the board's Civic Public Safety Religious Committee chairperson. We were able to go over some of the higher level, safety issues. Specifically, we talked about commercial vehicles in the neighborhood, how they are prolific, how they are parking illegally. Anyone that's walked on Bushwick Avenue outside of the Bushwick Aberdeen station has seen the same charter bus there on Aberdeen and Furman for the last month. So we are trying to get more resources to the PD to be able to assist with getting the trucks and other commercial vehicles that are legally parked out of the neighborhood. This is in addition to other safety concerns that come up. We assured them we work closely with the 83rd precinct, and all we want to do is make sure that the PD has the resources they need to address the issues and the concerns in Bushwick. And as Mr. Camacho mentioned, the Perelman Performing Arts Center invited us to a tour. This was open to all of the community boards. We were invited because they want to make sure that this space is for everyone. They emphasize this. This isn't just going to be another space that's, as some art spaces in Manhattan can be, elitist, that is not open to the community. They want the community to be involved. And so they extended an invitation to boards, even outside of Manhattan, to participate. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. They did send us a job posting. So if you're looking for a job in the arts community, that is available on the Bushwick Jobs Board, which is on the board's website. And as Mr. Camacho mentioned, we were a part of the Bushwick Neighborhood Coalition for the citywide participatory budget process. That was at El Puente. We discussed the outreach and voting plan, and more information will be available soon. That concludes my report. Thank you, everyone. Are there any? I did my best. Are there any questions? Seeing none, hearing none. We will move on now to our committee reports. Committee chairpersons, I kindly ask you to keep your reports as brief as possible, bullet points. So starting with our Economic Development plus Permits and Licenses Committee meeting, I will ask first, because I know we have one committee chairperson here. Desmond, would you like me to run through this report briefly, or would you like to do that? Oh, Desmond has stepped away. So I think that answers the question. So I was not at this meeting. It took place yesterday, but I will do my best to summarize. There were 4 applicants that came before the committee. The first one was BK Cafe Inc. at 247 Saddam. This is a new wine, beer, cider license between Knickerbocker Avenue and Wilson Avenue. It's a restaurant. It's an experienced business owner. They're looking to open a small Thai restaurant. Their intended sale of alcohol hours, Monday through Sunday, 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., no outdoor space. And amended hours were submitted to remove reflect no outdoor space today. And the chairperson informed the owner of stipulations, no amplified music, no alcohol sales past 12 a.m. on Sundays, and encouraged further contact with the 83rd Precinct and nonprofit organizations in the community. The chairperson for economic development also mentioned the Bushwick Jobs Board. This is standard for all applicants, so that way they send us any job postings available. And they were invited to attend today's meeting. The second applicant was 942 Flushing, Chiang Mai Diner and Bar. This is a new LWBC, which is liquor, wine, beer, cider license on the corner of Central and Flushing Avenue. It's a restaurant, and this business owner also has experience operating across New York City and is hoping to bring Thai cuisine to Bushwick. And their hours are as follows: Monday to Friday, 11:30 to 2 a.m., Saturday from 9 to 2 a.m., 9 a.m. to 2 a.m., and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. There is an outdoor space. Hours are 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. as per stipulations. And the amended hours for outdoor space were submitted today. And the chairperson informed this owner of stipulations: no sales of alcohol past 12 a.m. on Sundays, no amplified music, outdoor spaces must be closed by 10 p.m. The owner agreed. The establishment will not be participating in DOT's open restaurants program. And they were encouraged to also contact the precinct, post on the Bushwick Jobs Board, and attend today's meeting. Third applicant, 48 Cypress LLC, which is at 48 Cypress Avenue, a new liquor, wine, beer, cider license. This is between Star Street and Cypress Avenue. It's a bar tavern. The owner is making changes to management and ownership, formerly known as Vacations LLC. This bar will serve the Bushwick Ridgewood community. Their intended sale of alcohol hours, Monday through Wednesday, 4 p.m. to 2 a.m., Thursday through Saturday, 4 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. a.m. That was a typo. Sunday from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. The outdoor space will be operating Monday through Sunday, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And the forms were amended to reflect these changes, and they were submitted today. The same stipulations were in place. No amplified music, no alcohol sales past 12 a.m. on Sundays. Outdoor space is closed by 10 p.m. The owner agreed. The establishment has outdoor yard space that falls within their property line, therefore will not be applying for DOT's open restaurants program. The same information was shared regarding the Bushwick's Jobs Board, and they were encouraged to attend today's meeting. Xanadu or Star LLC, on Star LLC, 262 Star Street, a new liquor, wine, beer, cider license between Wyckoff and St. Nicholas Avenue. Establishment type is a roller rink with bar and food. The establishment owner has experience as he owns one event venue, I would say. It's not just the bar, it's the Sultan Room. He's looking to open a roller rink with food and the bar indoor seating, operating with programming targeting families and children in the neighborhood. They plan to hold events such as weddings and shows in their space. Their intended sale of alcohol hours, these were not amended, are 10 a.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. This was I'm going to keep it brief. I'm not going to read through the rest of this because the committee decided that their plan was not sufficient for the committee to make a recommendation, and they asked them to do the work within the committee and come back to the committee next month for the committee to make a recommendation to refer to the full board. So there were concerns about security. There were concerns about, cost, construction process. It was a very controversial application. Folks wanted to know why. As the Assemblywoman mentioned earlier, there was a skating rink that needed to be open till 4 a.m. So the committee felt as though they needed to continue the conversation next month and did not make a recommendation for the board to review this evening. The owner's representative confirmed that they will attend next month to continue the conversation. Anyone that has questions, concerns, opposed, in favor should be attending next month. Go. Oh, did you have something, Desmond?
Yeah, sorry, Celeste. I had to step out. There was, nature.
Oh, no worries. I pretty much got through the. I pretty much got through the whole report.
Sorry about that. But yeah, they will be coming back, and they're going to come back with like a full report on like school programs and how they're actually going to integrate with the community. So we should see better, but I don't think people should have to worry about it right now. And I don't even know if they're even here today, but yeah, it went very long and it was a mess, but we'll fix it.
Yep. Next month at the Economic Development Permits and Licenses Committee meeting. Are there any questions for this meeting report before we move on? Seeing no hands, hearing no voices, nothing in the chat. We will move on now to the Environmental Protection, Transportation, Sanitation, Parks and Rec Committee meeting. That's Ms. Jackson.
Mine's supposed to be real quick. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, we met on February 22nd, and we had the parks, Chad Neal from the parks that talked about the Portland Lou. We already discussed that, so I don't need to go any further into that. But we did have Priscilla to come renew her license, and also 440 car service who did not show up. So the board, not the board, but the committee did decide to recommend Portland and agree to the new Priscilla's license. I also went to some assess disability that they gave last week. I attended that meeting. Yes. Oh, permits for the parks, soccer teams. And I'm not going to read it all out. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Ms. Jackson?
It would be on the recommendations in regards to agreeing to them. So I'll read it out. No, I'll just, in recommendations. Thank you.
If there are no questions for this committee, we will move on. Housing and land use. I know our committee chair, Ann Gagne, is not here. Please send her well wishes. She's recently injured, but she's on the mend. Desmond, would you like to summarize this report? I feel like we went through most of it in the public hearing, but if there's anything else that you would like to state, now is the time. No pressure.
No, this is a huge report, and in the interest of time, I would hope that people can get on there and read it because there's a lot of things going on. Because it's just not just this project. There's other issues on the economic development policy. So whichever which way you want me to do it, I can do it. I can go through the whole thing, or they can read the summary. You just let me know what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say like highlighting, if I were to endeavor to highlight the main points from the almost hour public hearing item we had earlier, it would be that this project is in line with the Bushwick Community Plan's goals, right? So the plan said no manufacturing to residential. It emphasized the need to preserve residential along Flushing. So this is in line with those goals stated in the plan. The project itself is an economic, tool. It's an opportunity for the neighborhood. However, there were valid concerns that were raised, right? There is a market that, is uncertain. This is a project that's going to take a long period of time. We know there's a long-term needs interest, but we also know that there are a lot of variables, funding, financing that can change. So as Desmond mentioned, the report is very dense. This is a ULURP item. It requires a vote and a recommendation. But we will get into that under recommendations. If anyone has any questions specific to the presentation earlier or in relation to the housing and land use report, now would be the time.
And also, I would like to reiterate what Celeste said and what the actual developer said. This does meet our goals, although there are other things that there were concerns that came up. But at the end of the day, like one of our mission statements when it comes to economic development and housing and land use is that we wanted to bring in more jobs, we wanted to bring in more manufacturing, and sometimes we have to balance. We don't have to sell our I don't want to say that word. We don't have to sell our morals or our convictions or our beliefs, but sometimes we do have to compromise and look at the project. And from the notes that I read that Ann took and that everything, it seems like this was an option that we should support or strongly consider supporting.
Thank you, Desmond. And also just want to give credit where credit is due. We do have a non-board committee member, Christian Tate, who's been supporting the committee with really great notes. So thank you. Okay. All right. If there's nothing else for this committee, we will move on now to our recommendations, starting with the environmental protection, transportation, sanitation, and parks.
All right, I will read it. We had 2 soccer leagues and 1 baseball league. Quebradilla has Hope Park Hope Park has a Sunday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday, as you know, during the weekday, this is the spring league. During the weekday, the school sometimes uses the park, so they would only use from 6 to 8, which is 1 game. Monday through Friday, and Sunday they have from 10 to 6. We want to vote blank, or you want to just?
Did you read all of them already?
No. So you want to do all of them in one shot? Okay, got it, boss. Green Central and all, they were very upset because, as you know, the fences are being cut and there's holes all over and there's feces all over that baseball field when that's not a dog park. So they're only going to use 1 day from 6 to 8. That's in the afternoon for the girls to use. Sunday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We really need to enforce park in regards to that. The ball field, they're using as the dog park. They used to have their area over there. They had the rooftop. Now they look like they can't use their dog park under their rooftop they had. So now they're taking the ball field from the kids. So Then we got Guadalupe, Rio Guadalupe. As you know, Bushwick High School has a lot of issues, and we know someone here that's complaining about some of the people on the block, about the trucks, the people selling stuff. When the soccer leagues are in there, they're selling in there too. There's garbage all over the place. There's rodent. So what we're doing now is we're eliminating the 6 to 8 because it also helps PD establish more that there's no leads during that time at night from 6 to 8. So Quebradilla, Rio Guadalupe agreed to Sunday from 8 a.m., which we know they don't start at 8, to 6. Monday, they got 1 day from 6 to 8. That's the only day they got. They got Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday. Then we have Super Kid is going to use Bushwick on Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. That's during the week because Bushwick High School might use the baseball field or whatever. And he has Sunday from 8 to 6. Bushwick, yes. Sunday, Saturday, in Bushwick Park, Guadalupe got. Because you had it before last year. He wanted to take it away. So we gave her Sunday. We gave you Saturday. And Friday, Viernes. Okay, then we got Super Kids got Hector Park. Hector Park is right behind here on Knoll. Had it from 8 to 6. Monday through Friday, he has it from 6 to 8. And Sunday, he has it from 8 to 6. And that is it.
Is there a motion on this recommendation from the committee? Ben Tucker makes the motion. Is there a second?
Alvina Davis.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions?
Hey,
So moved.
Celeste, I'm gonna abstain. You
Okay.
said.
Hey, Robert, this is Alicio. Can I say something, please?
Briefly.
Okay, I know you already voted. I have no problem with the people getting the park. The people that get the park, they gotta be responsible for the people around the park that make the mess. In Giancarlo's Quebradilla, every time Carlos finishes the game, the park is clean behind him. These other people that play the soccer and bring all those food trucks there to Bushwick High School, they gotta be held responsible or take the permit away.
That's a copy. Yep, we will make them responsible, and we're also going to find out what's going on. Also, just for clarification, Thomas Bowling Park is open. Anyone could use that park, and the only reason why it's open because people say that there's been a lot of shootings on the Saratoga Square, and since we did open borders, anybody can jump over the little fence and run into the park. And there was a shooting last time, and that's why people now fear that it's unsafe because of the low fences that they put that people can jump over. And there were a couple of times people chasing someone with a gun through the park, and that's why they don't want to use the park. They came to us and said they don't want to use that park because of that. So, or any park, but it can happen in any park. But all right.
All right. The next recommendation is for the taxi limousine renewal. Andrew, do you mind signing in really quick? All right. Is there a motion for the recommendation to approve the renewal letter of no objection? Barbara Jackson makes a motion. Is there a second?
Felix Ceballos, second it.
Okay, Felix seconds. All in favor? Any opposed? Any
Aye.
abstentions? So moved. Are there any other recommendations from, the Portland Loo? The Portland Loo, the presentation we heard from the Parks Department earlier. What was the committee's recommendation? The committee was an approval. Were there any stipulations or just approval? Okay, so the approval with the safety concerns that were addressed earlier today. So approval with the stipulations of the security measures that were discussed. Is there a motion from the board?
I make a motion to approve with the stipulations.
I second.
Seconds.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Raul Rubio abstains. Anyone else opposed, abstained? So moved. And I believe that's it for this committee. Yes? Yeah, we did that. We just did that. Okay, so we're all set with this committee.
Yep.
All right, we will move on now to economic development permits and licenses. Does anyone need me to read the businesses and their hours again? I don't hear anyone. Okay, so is there a motion for a blanket vote? Ben Tucker makes a motion for a blanket vote. Is there a second?
I second,
Barbara-
all but for the roller ring, right? That's not gonna be included in the blanket vote.
The recommendation from the committee was for them to come back next month.
All right, so yeah.
So, okay. All right.
Okay.
That's everything is included. It's a blanket. All right. So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This is for a
Alvina
blanket
Davis
vote.
abstain.
Joanna
Oh.
Bennett abstains.
Okay, one, just slowly. So I got Viviana
Zinavo
Davis,
abstain.
Joanna Bennett, Raul Rubio, and Zinavoa.
Zinavo
abstain. Motion carries. Thank you. And now can I have a motion for the recommendation? So for all of these, they were approval with the stipulations as stated earlier when I read the hours and all the steps. And as a reminder, the controversial skating rink, the recommendation was for them to return to the committee, to which the owner agreed. Is there a motion for the committee's recommendations?
Yes. I make a motion.
Mr. Camacho made a motion. Is there a
I
second?
second it.
Second.
Oh, Desmond, I believe I heard first. Seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll start with opposed. Raul Rubio, opposed. Anyone else opposed?
I'm sorry, Celeste, I don't know.
Zinavo.
Well, I heard we're in the middle of the vote, but I heard a question. Go ahead.
I said Annette Spelling, I didn't oppose.
Oh, okay. No, it was just Raul Rubio that opposed. Anyone else? Okay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Say your
Yes,
name, please.
Zinavo.
Oh, got it.
Zinavo
Alvina Davis.
abstain.
Okay. Alvina Davis. Anyone else abstained? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And that brings us to, I believe, our last recommendation for this evening, which is the Housing and Land Use Project. The committee did recommend support, incorporating feedback from both their meeting and the full board. And this is also, it was highlighted that this is once again in line with the Bushwick Community Plan's goals. Is there a motion on the committee's recommendation? Andrew Choi makes a motion. Is there
I
a second?
second.
Second by Robert Camacho.
So are we doing individual vote for this?
There's an well, we're in the middle of the motion. We have to conclude this motion in order that should have been the first motion.
Well, can we table this a motion and make a
So
motion?
we're in
or-
the parliamentary procedure. I don't know how to handle this because we're in the middle of a motion right now. So
There was a
think that he-
motion
I
and there
think
was
there's-
seconded.
yes,
There was a
motion that was second. So there has to be a vote. We can't
And
not
it has to
vote on.
pertain, and what anything has to pertain to the motion on the table if he wants to amend the motion. It has to pertain to the motion that's on the table.
Correct.
Okay, well,
So Joshua, this is something you wanted to add to this motion?
yeah, he's essentially saying a roll call vote. So, but we've already made the motion.
Right, so he has to continue.
Okay.
Yes.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Josh, you're opposed?
Yes, I am.
Okay, anyone else opposed? Anyone else abstains?
Annette,
Okay, one moment. Raul, Annette, anyone else? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. And that concludes our recommendations. Is there anything else before we move on? Going once, going twice? Hearing nothing. Any old business? Going once, going twice? Any new business? Going once, going twice? And announcements, a minute and a half. We are actually timing you and we will cut you off this evening. It's after 9 p.m., folks. I say that only because I want the board to not yell at me tomorrow. All right. Raise your hands, please, if you're on Zoom, and if you're in person, just let us know and we'll bring the mic to you. Starting with the Congresswoman's office, a reminder, a minute and a half.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on a few of the Congresswoman's recent initiatives. Last week, the Congresswoman introduced the Landlord Accountability Act. This bill would amend the Fair Housing Act to ban discrimination against tenants with rental assistance vouchers. It would also fine property owners $100,000 every month that they're found to deliberately warehouse an apartment. Also, as Mr. Camacho mentioned in his report, this past Saturday, the Congresswoman held a press conference regarding the recent lithium battery fires that has been going on. She was joined by the Councilwoman Jennifer Gutierrez and Councilmember Sandy Nurse, as well as Mr. Camacho and Riseborough. The purpose of the press conference was to unveil her new legislation, which directs the United States Department of Transportation to create grants for local governments to install publicly accessible safety charging and storage stations for these e-bikes and any other mobility devices. In her quest to help reduce violence in North Brooklyn, the Congresswoman will be presenting a $1 million check to the North Brooklyn Anti-Violence Coalition. This will be followed by a $2 million check to Woodhull Hospital for a new colorectal cancer unit. I know we're at a minute and a half, so thank you so much for allowing me to update you on what the Congresswoman has been doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gutierrez's office.
Hey everyone. Yeah, so quick updates. The council member did introduce the universal child care. The bill will provide free child care for New York City kids. We're also proud to say that ACE has removed 15 pounds of trash in District 34. So thank you to all of the ACE workers. When you see them in Eka Walker, please say thank you to them. And just to mention what Councilmember Nurse mentioned earlier, we will be hosting a RAT Academy alongside with Councilmember Nurse on March 21st from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Borough President Reynoso's office.
Hi, everyone. I will keep it really quick. Community board applications are in. I have been having a lot of fun interviewing applicants for CB4. So you should be getting your new members very soon. We're very excited about that. As Celeste mentioned, our Director of Community Boards, Carolyn Church, also provided testimony at the City Council recently about the needs of community boards. We were very happy to be there to advocate for you all, and we will be doing the same next week at the GovOps Committee budget hearing to talk about the needs that you all have for staffing and tech and all of that good stuff. In addition, we're having a couple of events coming up. We too are doing a RAT Academy. So if you want to learn about RATs, that's on the 23rd at the main branch of the Brooklyn Public Library. And stay tuned for a Women's History Month event at Borough Hall on the 30th. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we have one in person.
Okay. Good evening, CB4. I'm Venus from the CCRB, the Civilian Complaint Review Board. We are an independent agency that investigates, mediates, and prosecutes against police misconduct. Our jurisdiction is excessive force, abuse of authority, discourtesy, and offensive language. So if anyone experiences or witnesses police misconduct, please file it online or at your local precinct or at our office, 100 Church Street, Lower Manhattan, or you can direct message us on social media if you see something that alludes to misconduct. 2 announcements. First, the CCRB will be at the Public Safety Committee City Council hearing. One of the items on the agenda is direct access to body-worn camera footage that will really help our investigations. And the second and last announcement, the CCRB is hosting a Brooklyn Borough Board meeting, and this is very important for all the Brooklynites like me and everyone here. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about policing in your community and you want to raise that to our board and our executive director, please come and engage in a meaningful discussion. This will be happening May 10th, 2023. So soon, 6:30 p.m. at Restoration Plaza. So please come out and speak your truths. Thank you and happy Women's History Month.
Thank you. All right, that wraps up our announcements this evening. Board members, the meeting isn't over yet. We have to get through our second roll call. Please be ready. Please be ready to unmute yourselves if you're not unmuted already. Carlotta Williams.
Here. Good night.
Shauna
everyone.
Wade. Jerry Valentine.
Present, good night.
Ben Tucker is here in person. James Stewart.
Here, good night.
Annette Spellin.
Good night, Annette.
Dustin Sonborn. Maria Soler. Barbara Smith. Bernardina Shell. Milagros Sandoval. Eliseo Ruiz.
Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Raul Rubio. Here in person. Asire Polite. Kyle O'Rourke. Zuma Navoa. Desmond
Good night,
Monroe.
everyone.
Oh, gotcha, Z.
Present.
Desmond Monroe. Gotcha, Desmond. Imani Mitchell.
Present.
Gotcha. Mary McClellan. Cassandra LeVay. Kawebe Koti. Nicholas Kaplan.
Present. Good night.
Virgie Jones. Barbara Jackson. Here in person. Tanisha Honeygan.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Celeste. After you call Hennigan.
Celeste, we can't hear you.
Celeste.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Give me a moment, please. The mic failed me. All right. Hadia Harrison. Christopher Graham.
Present. Good night.
Joanna Fuentes.
Good night.
Freddie Fowler. James Fitzgerald. Alvina Davis.
Good night.
Andrew Choi. Present in person. Felix Ceballos.
Present. Good night.
Melissa Carrera Solano. Robert Camacho. Present in person. Raul Brown. Joshua Brown.
Present, good night.
Joanna Bennett.
Good night. Thank you.
Grace Aites. Stephanie Anderson.
Here. Enjoy your night.
Isa Abney.
Present.
And before we go, just Kim, make sure that if there's anyone on the phone, I know Mr. Fowler is in. Okay, Veronica Shell, we're confirming they're present, even though we didn't hear them for the roll call. I will fix that now. Motion to adjourn, please. Barbara makes the motion. Barbara Jackson, Raul Rubio seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? So moved. Good night, everyone. I got you, Bernardina, and I got you, Mr. Fowler.
Thank
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Stay home safe.